Oh, 12 o'clock on your Thursday afternoon now. Welcome in. It is the halftime show. Tyler Head, Bill Gunner, Cale Wilson hanging out with us here today. What? You're here. No, you didn't do the show the other day, did you? You've been kind of bouncing around a lot this week.
Yeah, I did the early game
That's
on
right.
Monday and yesterday.
You had the early wake-up call. That's what it was.
Yeah, so the first time I did it, I think that was Monday, I decided, because I'm not used to going to bed as early as you have to for that show.
Yeah. It's an early one.
So I decided to pull an all-nighter because it was already late, and I figured if I went to sleep, I was going to be too tired. So I pulled an all-nighter. Not the best idea.
No,
so
I wouldn't recommend it. For
the Wednesday show, I forced myself to go to sleep, but I still wasn't used to it, so I only slept like 3 hours.
Yeah. It takes some getting used to, that's for sure. But excited to have you hanging out with us again, going from 12 to 3 today. Bill, we always joke about you starting your weekend on Thursday. You really do start your weekend on Thursday this weekend because we really don't have much of a show tomorrow. We'll be along briefly. I believe Jay Phillips is going to hop in with me from 12 to about 12:40 tomorrow because we're going to go straight into pregame coverage of the moved-up game number 1 of the series against Northern Kentucky for baseball tomorrow.
Yeah, and you probably think I'm joking about that. Like literally yesterday, because we changed it and I'm off Friday now. I literally spent most of yesterday thinking it was Thursday.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, just get through the day. So, good to have you back, man. Glad to have you back. Glad everything went well.
Yeah, I listened to you guys yesterday on my drive. It helped made the drive go quicker.
Good. So. And I didn't cause you to fall asleep while you were driving.
No, not at all. Well, I had an energy drink with me too, so that helped out too.
Okay, one of the two. Interesting. Obviously we're kind of hitting that period of time where content getting a little lighter and everything. But I'll come back to what I was saying yesterday, because I did finally, I guess, take a hardline stance on this baseball program, and we'll talk more about that. Y'all talk a lot in depth tomorrow about that. We got a busy show today. We're going to do our NASCAR checkered flag Survivor Challenge, and we'll let Tyler really break that down. It's not a true Survivor Challenge because nobody gets eliminated.
Survivor sounds cool though.
Yeah, it does. I like it. Oh my goodness,
we're going to call it Survivor.
He isn't here. Dave yesterday, so I said it. I was talking a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Dave, I love Dave. Dave goes off on a little bit of a tangent about the show Survivor.
Yes.
So of all things last night, I've never watched Survivor. I've never wanted. I don't get into those shows.
I'm familiar with it, but I've never watched it.
All those ABC, NBC, CBS, whatever shows, Bachelor, Survivor, whatever, Island, all those shows, whatever it is, I've never watched a single one of them. And so last night, in between the Olympics and flipping around on basketball, Survivor was on. Now, if one of y'all watched this, I would like to hear a little more about what was taking place. They're on an island. Again, whatever they're doing, whatever it is they do. And in the sand, there's a bag, like a duffel bag buried. I don't even know what was in it. I flip over, and the guy who's leading it is like, yells, go. He kind of explains the situation real quick, and I'm like, all right, let me watch this. And he yells, go. And these like 4 girls take off, and they got to dig through the sand, and they got to find the bag.
Okay.
And then it's a free-for-all, a literal free-for-all, and not to go down too much of a road here. Thankfully, we're not as much a kid-friendly show.
All right.
It was the equivalent of illegal TV, if you will, on a regular television station. Like,
okay.
Things are being blurred out because they're in bikinis.
Sure.
And they're wrestling for this bag. And then when I say it's a free-for-all, like, they tackle one of the girls who's got the bag because she can't get back to she's got to get back to a line, and you get a point for your team, whatever. However it was working again.
Yeah.
It was all very random. And one of the girls gets her shoulders dislocated because they literally get her in a wrestling chokehold.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, this is exactly why I don't ever watch this Survivor. Like, it was there was partial nudity involved. There was wrestling moves. One of the non-contestants is yelling at their teammate to break the other one's shoulder. I was like, what television is Dave watching to know about Survivor?
Well, I can assure you our Survivor picks will not be anything like that. And there will be no physicality for our NASCAR picks this year.
And I can promise you that'll be the one time you ever hear me describe that Survivor and not our.
Yeah. I could see how that would be appealing to people that want to watch that on TV, though. I know why the show is successful.
I do have a question for you that popped up last night. I left one of my TVs on TBS.
Okay.
I was watching when I go home in the afternoon, like from 5 to 6. I usually watch Big Bang Theory.
Sure.
All right. And so I left it on upstairs, and I was downstairs watching the Olympics. I came back upstairs. How big? Like, how much has it grown? Is this, what is it, AE Wrestling?
Oh, All Elite Wrestling?
Yeah.
AEW? Yeah.
AEW?
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Because here's why I ask. I'm from a time
Okay.
where, like, I remember one of the first WrestleManias that took place at Wembley Stadium, the old Wembley Stadium.
Okay.
And it was a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
You mean SummerSlam?
Was it SummerSlam?
Yeah, WrestleMania's never been overseas yet.
It was a big. Now, mind you, I wasn't a WWF.
Yeah.
I was a WCW person. But like when they would do Hulk and Andre the Giant or any of those things, I never really got into that. I was more Sting, Lex Luger, when Ric Flair was in it, Arn Anderson, all those people.
Sure.
So I say all that because, would you say it was AEW?
Yeah, AEW, All Elite Wrestling.
Like, they're doing a thing at Wembley Stadium.
Yes.
And I was kind of like, is this franchise, like, I don't know, this is, again, me speaking from going back to the 90s when again, even back then, WWF was different. And, like, I remember that being a big deal. I want to say you said it was probably SummerSlam.
Yeah.
And it was, like, mid-90s maybe.
I think 92.
Okay, something like, it was early in my years. But I remember it being a big deal, like a huge deal that they were doing that.
Sure.
And so I saw this thing, I was like, wait, is this wrestling venture?
Yeah.
Like, actually, because I've always thought of it as like the NFL, and then AEW is like the UFL. Like, it's there.
Yeah, it's certainly not as big as like WWE is, and it's only been around since 2018. Actually, they came to Columbia one time in 2022. I went to the show. Like, it was a good show. It's more, and I don't want to go into the weeds on this. It is more for the like wrestling diehard fans. Like, if you're somebody that watches like wrestling in Japan or like watches independent wrestling, like, it's very much for the super wrestling nerd type of people, as opposed to the more family friendly type of stuff that WWE puts out there. So, and AEW is very edgy. They're not afraid to cross lines. It is more of a throwback to what you may have grown up with in the 90s and stuff like that. But if you're just purely into the wrestling part of it, AEW is very good. Again, they came here a couple years ago, and it was a good show. I wish they'd come back. I'd go to it again. But yeah, it's definitely, it's not in the realm of where WWE is, but it's a good counter.
Okay.
Like, if you don't like what you have with WWE, it gives you something else to watch.
I just walked into my bedroom and it was promoting the commercial, and I was like, okay. And when it said Wembley Stadium, I was like, wait, is this this little venture gotten that? Because I thought it was just kind of like AA or maybe even AAA, but the Wembley Stadium to me is kind of a big deal to have a huge event there that seats, I don't know, what, 80,000?
Yeah, no, they sell it out. They do it for their all-in event every year, which is huge. And the owner of the company is Shad Khan's son, Tony Khan. Shad Khan owns the Jacksonville Jaguars, so they've got a lot of funding behind them, which is why they're able to do those kind of things. But yeah, no, if you're just a diehard wrestling fan, it gives you an alternate product to watch, and they do fine for what they are.
All right. Well, there's a little wrestling update, a few other updates on unrelevant things going on right now. May as well kind of stick with stuff that's more relevant, but also at the same time you might not care about. Canada. Well, number one, I didn't get to talk to you about this. How about the whipping we put on Canada the other day? Yeah. First ever shutout for us over Canada in the Olympics, and Canada's just fourth loss ever in Olympic hockey. Well, good job, women.
I think by the time we left here, it was already 3-0. In that game. So, yeah, they dominated them. Men's team playing today against Latvia at 3:10. So, excited to see that. And, yeah, Canada was this Czechoslovakia, I believe, or Czechia, one of those, that Canada's comfortably leading 3-0 right now.
So, we'll keep you updated on that. Pebble Beach getting going today as well out there. The winds have been just absolutely insane, and that makes it even more fun when you get a situation like that. We'll keep you updated as golf rolls along. But again, they have gotten going out there at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am That's going to be a lot of fun. Spyglass and Pebble Beach, the courses to be played at. Cold out there today, windy and cold. And again, they are really just getting underway now here as we get our show underway. So we'll get into all of that. We'll revisit some topics from yesterday, including one of them that I brought up as it pertains to Devontae Miles. We now have official word on him. I don't think there's a surprise on that, but we'll update you on his situation. And again, talk about kind of what that means. I got into it a little bit yesterday because you could kind of see this coming.
Sure.
You could kind of see this coming. So we'll get into that a little bit. Also, Trinidad Chambliss met with the legal department.
Do we have a ruling yet?
I've not seen
anything. I was tracking
anything.
it on Twitter, but I didn't see anything official yet.
I have not seen anything that has come out that is official. So, but again, that I haven't seen anything in the last hour. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on that because that's kind of interesting today as well. Especially, and I know that again I mentioned this yesterday. Michael Broughton, SEC Mike, who I have referenced with a couple of different things. He puts out stuff. It's content. It's nothing more than content to discuss.
Sure.
And he had Trinidad Chambliss as his number one quarterback in the SEC in 2026. I thought that was a little interesting, but we'll keep an eye on that here as we await news from there. 803-404-6100. That's how you can weigh in if you want to do so this afternoon. Tyler Head, Bill Gunner.
It's Kale.
Yeah, I was going to say, Kale, what is your last name?
Wilson.
Okay, I was right. I should have just gone with my instinct and then allowed you to.
You know what? It's safer to ask than to say the wrong thing.
I don't know. Sometimes
No.
if
and Kale Johnson joining us, that's not right.
Yeah, Kel Wilson stepping in behind the mic for old Captain Dave today. So you're listening to the Halftime Show. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where for over 30 years, Mid-State Roofing has been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. You hear me talk about it all the time. The reason that they've been the leader is because of that customer service. That's exactly right. The customer service from Mid-State Roofing is absolutely second to none. The way that they make sure that that roof keeps your operation, it could be your home, it could be your business, but the way it keeps that operation dry and running long into the future, that's why they stand out. And most importantly, they are there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can give them a phone call at 12 midnight. You can get a leak because, I don't know if y'all are aware, leaks don't know what time it is. They just happen. So you can give them a phone call at any time, and Mid-State Roofing will be there to help you. 803-356-1919. Again, it's 803-356-1919. Give Mid-State Roofing a call today and tell them Bill Gunner sent you. 12:17 on a much nicer, much prettier Thursday afternoon after what was kind of a little bit of a doomy and gloomy kind of Wednesday. But we got through it, and now we are about ready for the weekend. It's going to be a really fun weekend. You got South Carolina baseball tomorrow. And again, a reminder, we will be at the Village Idiot. Tyler, Chris, Wes, Jack Veltri, the whole gang, everybody. Jay Phillips maybe. Do you know, is Jay stopping by or calling?
That I don't know. He's going to be with me in some capacity from 12 until pregame, but
Okay.
I can't confirm if that's going to be in person or not.
Probably makes sense. He'll probably be on the Comrex. But yeah, we will be out there. So go on by tomorrow, check out the gang, have a slice of pizza with them, maybe a cold soda, and talk a little baseball and get excited for the season. Get excited for the season.
As we learned the other day, not a lot of people excited for the season. You can anticipate something without being excited about it, but yeah, the excitement's not quite there compared to years past, it seems like.
Yeah, no, it's not. So, but get excited. Who knows what's going to happen? I brought this up. We'll talk some baseball during this show and get back into it a little bit. But I brought this up yesterday. 9 years out of 10, and this is that 1 year, but 9 years out of 10, people with that schedule would be like, this is going to be a phenomenal season. This is going to be so much fun. South Carolina's not ranked, and therefore you're not quite as excited. Maybe you're dreading a little bit. But go by and hang out with the guys tomorrow. It'll be a lot of fun. Again, 9 to 12:40 over at Village Idiot. This will be in Olympia Mills. They will be at the Olympia Mills location. So make sure you head over there and then shoot. You can walk kind of from the park to Olympia Mills. You can walk back. So go and enjoy yourself, have a slice of pizza, and hang out with the guys and cut up. Also this weekend, Daytona 500.
That's right.
Got a lot of excitement. Did some qualifying for that last night.
Yeah, Kyle Busch on the pole, Chase Briscoe starting second. Only the front row gets set with qualifying. Tonight's the duels to determine the last two spots in and where everybody starts on Sunday. So full weekend, going to be fun.
And we'll talk coming up in about an hour with Doug Fireball Turnbull joining us for our NASCAR segment, so look forward to that. No football, no true football this weekend. No actual.
We're done.
No Senior Bowl, no Pro Bowl festivities. I was held on a Tuesday night anyway. No playoffs, no high school. This is like that portion of the Grinch where they're going through all the things that there's no more of after the Grinch stole it. We are completely out of football this weekend, and now you can turn your full attention. I know you're excited to college baseball and college basketball.
You have to get excited, right? Some form or fashion, because it's all we got. And yeah, you have enough things to keep you occupied this weekend because you got baseball. Softball's going to have 4 games over 2 days coming up on Friday and Saturday as well. Yeah. Men's basketball is going to take on Alabama. I think we kind of know how that one's going to go. Huge matchup for women's basketball coming up Saturday night, prime time on ABC, taking on LSU. Again, Pebble Beach Pro-Am going on throughout the weekend as well. So you'll have plenty of things to keep you occupied that maybe you won't be thinking about football if you tune into enough things. 803-404-6100. That doesn't mean there's not football news. Now, this happened on Tuesday. Devontae Miles arrested for possession of marijuana, also having a firearm in his car. I mentioned it yesterday that I fully expected him to be removed from the program. I mean, I'll say this in the grand scheme of things, this was not good. This was not a little bit of marijuana. The possession of firearm, not good. He was also hit with intent to distribute. And South Carolina today announcing that Devontae Miles no longer a part of the team. I think you could see that coming. A USC spokesperson confirming Miles has been kicked off the team and has been removed from the Gamecocks football roster online. Now, what does it mean? What does it mean? It means that South Carolina's lost a body on the defensive. This was not a guy that was expected to start, not a guy that you really thought. It was going to be interesting to see what he would contribute. He is very easily replaceable, but you do have to have somebody to replace him for depth. Yeah, we look at the defensive line room as we did last year, saying, okay, how many guys are going to rotate in, who are going to play the key roles? And he had some moments last year, particularly towards the end of the season, where he did some good things, that made you think, okay, here's maybe something you can build off of going into the next year. But you've lost him now. But it's not a complete detriment to the room necessarily. You've got Gabriel Brownlow-Dinley coming back. You've got our guy TD. I butcher his name every time I try and say it. You got him coming in from the transfer portal. Troy Pike's come back for another year. Jordan Thomas coming over from Georgia that people have high hopes for what he's going to be able to do. So you got plenty of capable guys in that room, you feel like, where, yes, losing a body isn't great. And maybe you go out there and supplement that with somebody else that you add in the portal. Maybe, still out there. But, it doesn't derail the defensive line room by losing Devontae Miles.
No, it doesn't. And let's be honest, and I don't know what's out there, but if you don't feel comfortable with the and again, to me, you're looking for a depth piece. This is not a starter you're replacing. You're not, you're not replacing Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy. And
probably wouldn't be able to go out there and find a frontline starter that's still left in the portal anyway. So,
no, you would. Well, to that point, the transfer portal, technically, you can still dig around the bottom of that and find a body that can come in and hey, we need you to play 6, 7, 8 snaps.
We focus on the transfer portal, especially now that it's the one window that opened for being able to put yourself in and closed in early January. But there are still thousands of guys probably in the portal right now that don't have homes, that, some of them effectively in their own careers by doing that because they're betting on themselves. Right. Nobody ends up taking them. But, yeah, if you desperately just need a body for the defensive line, you can find somebody. Is it going to be somebody that can go out there and actually play this year? I don't know. But if you're purely trying to get your numbers back up for the spot that you lose with Devontae Miles, I'm sure there's somebody out there you can go out to fill that hole.
Yeah, you certainly can. I have no clue how many – well, I have no clue how many names total are still in the transfer portal. I'm assuming it's probably well over 3,000.
It's got to be.
I'm just ballparking. I could be way off. I don't know, but I'm going to assume if you want defensive tackles, there's probably 100, 200, 300.
And honestly, if you really want to dig, there could be guys that entered the portal last year that never got taken out.
Good point.
If you want to explore that avenue, and again, doesn't have to be somebody that comes in and is suddenly playing 40 snaps a game, but if you just really want it for the depth, somebody to add your practice squad, if nothing else, for rotations during practice, then you can certainly go out there and do that. Again, you got a couple weeks until spring practice, but yeah, it's not a surprise that they decided to move on from Devontae Miles given what happened the other day.
Yeah, and I said it yesterday, and I'll say it again today. That's one thing. Look, say what you want. South Carolina has been pretty good this century in terms of not having major issues. Any program, you're going to have a bump in the road here or there. Somebody's going to act out and do something. But by and large, this program has done a good job of having quality athletes represent their program. Now, again, yeah, there have been situations here and there that concern you. But the truth be told is, again, in this situation, this would be I think, unless somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not saying there hasn't been. I think during Spurrier's era, I think right at the beginning, maybe 2 guys got caught selling. I hate to say it, but Preston will attest to it. The end of the Lou Holtz era was when you really kind of had major issues with culture on the team, and you had some guys doing some things they shouldn't have been.
And again, at the end of the day, it's going to be about wins and losses that determine how long Beamer is going to hang around here as a head coach. But that is something you do have to give a hat tip to in terms of being able to keep these guys mostly on the straight and narrow. And again, Devontae Miles was involved with the group of guys that did serve a short suspension in the middle of last year. We don't necessarily know the details of what happened with that. You had the new the commitments that got kicked off the team a couple years ago for an incident involving a weapon on campus.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that.
Yeah, that was fun. That's my funny story. That was the first time I ever spoke to Coach Beamer because I was producing for Jay and Terry at the time, and they had him on like a Wednesday or something like that. And I had always heard like, oh yeah, Beamer's real nice and personable. And I call him, and I could tell I was annoying him when I called him. He seemed very frustrated about something. I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. And about an hour later, the news came out. I'm like, oh, he probably thought I was somebody calling him to tell him more bad news when I was just getting him on to talk with Jay and Terry. But, yeah, that happened a couple years ago. But for the most part, not a whole lot of things have really taken place in terms of off-the-field issues. And take it from somebody that went to the University of Georgia, that every other week has to read about one of their players driving 150 miles an hour around Athens and getting tickets and arrested and all that kind of stuff. It is nice to be at a program here where that kind of stuff isn't commonplace.
803-404-6100. One other thing I'll just conclude with Devontae Miles about this, and I'm not trying to run the young man down, okay? Maybe he ends up having this great senior year and turns into an all SEC player. But the other thing is you don't lose a certain body type. Like he's about 6'3", 6'4", 290. You've got a bunch of those guys. What South Carolina really lacks, they've got one guy, according to the Gamecocks Online roster, that's a really heavy set kind of space eater, and that's Noah Clark at 340. Otherwise, I'm reading 291, 293, 290, 284, 305, 285. Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy's at 311. So not only do you kind of lose a depth piece, and I don't know how to say that in the right way, you lose a guy, you lose a depth piece, that's it. But you don't lose a guy that's like a specialty kind of like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
he's a space eater on 3rd and 4.
Yeah, he's not somebody crazy unique. He had experience, which is something that you obviously wanted in the room a year ago and certainly want this year as well. So that is an element that you do lose if you're not able to go out there and supplement that with somebody that you add in the portal. But yeah, I don't think the outlook of this room drastically changes with him no longer being on the roster.
803-404-6100. That's how you can weigh in if you want to do so this afternoon. We'll come back and get back into a little bit of football eligibility. You're listening to the Halftime Show. Brad weighs in on our text line. Very excited for baseball tomorrow. There's some of you. There was some of you who were excited, but we'll see. We'll see. They get off to a good start. It might change a little bit of how we feel and what we think, but I think a lot of y'all right now go into baseball season with more trepidation and even fear. I think, and I get it. I get it, Tyler. There's a lot of people who are kind of like, man, I just had enough of the losing. I've had enough of the football 4-8. I've had enough of the basketball. The basketball can't do anything. And I've had the baseball last year was unacceptable, and I can't go through another thing like that.
Yeah, I get it. You're not wrong for feeling like that. You want something to be positive about, and as far as men's sports goes, you haven't had any of that in over a calendar year.
803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in. Let's talk a little bit of quarterbacks. And I tell you what, Kel, I apologize. I'm going to ask for clip number 3 right here in just a second. It's Herb Street on Crane and Company discussing the disappointment in Lenore Sellers, because I brought up those quarterback rankings yesterday from Michael Bratton, and he had Lenore Sellers at number 2, and we're kind of efforting. We're keeping an eye out. The quarterback he had number 1 is Trinidad Chambliss, and at this point in time, we're still waiting to hear the ruling. I'm assuming we would get a ruling today. Is that?
I thought, because this started at 10:30, right? Like, we're going on about 2 hours. I know I kind of popped in for a second, and there was a doctor that was kind of giving the overview of the respiratory issues that he had, and the breathing and the sleeping and all that kind of stuff, saying it's kind of remarkable that he's able to play the way that he is now. But again, that's the angle they're going, is the medical red shirt from his time at Ferris State, and saying that that year shouldn't count against him.
And I said this yesterday. I'm good with him getting his eligibility because of this. This is fine with me. The Joey Aguilar situation, I'm not good with. The Joey Aguilar situation is more of a, he's just trying to get extra eligibility because he played junior college and he doesn't want that to count against him.
Yeah, which I kind of predicted this a couple years ago, that this was going to be something that was going to kind of creep along, where it's going to be junior college, then it was going to go to D3, then to D2, then to FCS, and eventually we're going to get to the point where if you don't play, if your prior school wasn't a Power 4 place, then you're probably going to get extra eligibility about this. Now, again, we've already seen rulings go in the favor of guys that have played JUCO, like Diego Pavia, and I don't know which way they're going to go with Aguilar, but he's going for his 7th season, I believe, in college football. Yeah, it's... Yeah, you got to laugh at this point, right? Because this stuff's just getting ridiculous.
It's beyond ridiculous. Lenora Sellers, though, some people, if Trinidad Chambliss doesn't come back, some people might try and tell you that Lenora Sellers is the top returning quarterback in the SEC. I don't know. You got Gunnar Stockton. You got Arch Manning. Look, Sam Levitt, even though he's transferring in, was pretty good during the playoff run for Arizona State. Well, here's what Kirk Herbstreit had to say about Lenora Sellers in 2025.
I'm like you. I went into last year and I thought this guy is going to have a monster year. He had played well and played through some injuries the year before. I was part of probably the hype train. I thought this guy is, I think I got enough weapons around him for him to have a really solid year. I think I didn't, because they kind of got off the radar pretty quickly, and I really felt, if you look at Florida and South Carolina, both of those quarterbacks kind of did much worse than I think all of us expected. I really thought we were going to see some big years from both of them coming out of the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, he's right. And, again, a lot of reasons for Lenora Sellers last year. Look, some of the blame falls on him, Tyler, in my opinion. Lenora Sellers has to treat this offseason like it defines his life. And I'm not saying break up if he's got a girlfriend, which last I heard he does. But I'm not saying break up with her. But you got to block everything out for the next year and focus entirely on getting yourself better. You got to. Yeah. It might not hurt to read a book from Fernando Mendoza on how to focus solely on football.
I don't think anybody would accept hearing another quip about him wanting to talk about helmets in a team meeting again. You better be locked in as locked in can be. And look, we obviously know what his upside potential is because we saw it at the end of the season 2 years ago, and seemingly the issues around him on offense have been improved with what you've hired, what you brought in from the transfer portal. So now it boils down to, okay, how are you going to be better? Because it seemed like last year at times he was trying to do too much, overthinking it, and making a lot of mistakes that we hadn't quite seen in the same way the year prior. So can he be more calm, more relaxed, feel like he can rely on the guys around him a little bit more, where he doesn't have to feel like he has to shoulder as much of the load? We'll obviously see. We're going to find out in 170 some odd days once we actually start playing this upcoming year. But yeah, him being a first-round pick and a potential Heisman Trophy guy, that stuff's still on the table. If he plays well enough, he just has to go out there and correct the wrongs that he did a year ago.
It's not being, look, to your point, it's not being held against him what last year was. And to be clear, last year was bad. Let's think for a second. Think to that Mississippi game where he had some throws open. There was a one against Missouri early on. I can't remember who he had running back across the field. I think it might have been Mazio Bennett, where he had Mazio running down for a touchdown, wide open, and he missed him. And that might have changed the complexion of that game. The Mississippi game, he had 2 or 3 throws that were wide open that he missed. I mean, just as a player, and this is not just on Mike Shula. I know that everybody wants to demonize Mike Shula and say that guy couldn't coach his way out of a wet paper bag. And I'm not trying to tell anybody that Mike Shula is not at fault. But there were things that happened that I see it as clearly being on Lenore Sellers and not developing himself and putting in the work necessary. That's number one for the season. 2 is getting with Kendall Briles and going, how do I fit this offense and what do you want me to do? Because again, Tyler, it's not being held against him how bad last year was. It's not inconceivable. Not inconceivable. He has this great year, gets an invite to New York. The talent is there. Gets an invite to New York. Maybe doesn't win it, but is then still a top 5 pick. It's not inconceivable. He's not going to be picked that way.
Right.
But
because we have evidence of how good it can be, which goes back to the back half of the 2024 season, as opposed to if last year was his first year ever as a starter. Yes, there were obviously other issues going on around him on the offense, but we might have looked at it and said, maybe this Lenore Sellers guy isn't that good. But we know how good he's capable of being. And like you said, can Kendall Briles get the most out of him? Can they undo whatever was done wrong to him by Mike Shula in the last offseason that contributed to him having the struggles that he did? Because when he's playing at his best, this team is capable of beating anybody. Will you feel like you have a quarterback that when the chips are down, you can put the ball in his hands, he can go out there and make game-changing and game-winning plays, and we've seen him do that before. And considering how tough this schedule is, Carolina's probably going to have to rely on him to do that a couple times this year as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to take anything. I don't want to take anything away from the defense, but I mean, Lenore's basically single-handedly won the Texas A&M game 2 years ago here in Columbia. He basically, not single-handedly, but he won the Clemson game 2 years ago up there at Memorial Stadium. So you're right. He's capable. He is capable of doing that. But last year was a massive step back, and now we see kind of what happens with him. And Tyler, the other part to this that's going to be kind of interesting is unless something changes, we're not going to see him in the spring. You're not going to have a spring game just to go watch fundamentals.
Yeah.
Let's just for a second, Kendall Briles, let's say it's more short passes, quick slants. It doesn't look like we're going to get to see exactly what the Kendall Briles offense is kind of looking like with Lenore Sellers. Even if it was a vanilla offense at a spring game, you're not going to see anything. So the next time we see Lenore Sellers and go, okay, he's improved, is September 5th.
Yeah, and we're going to go through the next 6 to 7 months, and we're just going to be going off of what we hear from people, inside the facility and what little access media does get. And it's mainly going to be probably pretty positive. When Coach Beamer's talking about him at his various media stops or at SEC Media Days, hey, we love what we've seen out of him. He's making gains in this way and that way, but we're not going to see those results. And quite frankly, the first 2 weeks aren't going to tell us anything either. He can go out there and light the world on fire against Towson and Kent State and struggle against Mississippi State in game number 3, and they're saying, okay, we got a problem here.
I don't agree with you on that. I think you'll be able to tell early on. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean
mechanically, yes.
Well, here's the thing. Because I've seen him do it against Missouri in that game 2 years ago, look, and there were times this year he showed that skill. Because I've seen him do it, I know he can do it.
Yeah.
My thing with the first 2 games will be kind of like what you said, and I don't want to accuse him of not putting forth effort. That's not it. But I think we all wonder at times, and this is where you draw the line. Was it Mike Shula or was it Lenore Sellers on taking off and running and maybe being willing to sacrifice your body a little bit, even though we know you have a career post South Carolina.
Yeah, we'll certainly have to see. Again, he's going to be such an interesting conversation point. And again, Kirk Herbstreit's getting asked about him, in February. So he's somebody that's going to be talked about a lot this offseason. As I think a lot of people around the country are intrigued to see, okay, was last year an anomaly, or is that more of an indication of what he's going to be going forward? And we certainly think that he still has that crazy high upside like he did a couple years ago that hopefully kind of gets brought back out this year.
803-404-6100. Let me go ahead and forewarn you. It's going to happen. This is how it works, okay? I know this, and you kind of know it. The Earth's going to heat up, our portion of the Earth. It's going to get warmer.
Yes.
We're going to be happier.
Of course.
Football's going to start coming.
Yes.
All that stuff that was bad, we're going to forget. And by June and July, there's going to be, I can pretty much see it coming, a Justin King kind of hype video on Lenora Sellers, and then it's all just going to kind of rage from there. And by SEC Media Days, and I'm assuming he'll go back, maybe, I don't know.
You would think.
But by SEC Media Days, the Lenora Sellers hype, whether you like it or not, you don't have to like it, it's going to be full-blown again, I bet.
I always say hope springs eternal at Media Days, and I'm sure it will be for Sellers and this program as well.
803-404-6100. We'll come back and wrap up the hour, get into a little bit of basketball. You're listening to the Halftime Show. It is 12:47 on a Thursday, February the 12th. Hope you're doing well this afternoon. Anything you hear you want to weigh in on? Go right ahead. I'll try and get to the text messages. Chase weighs in, says, I'm excited for the start of the baseball season. I'm going to the game Tuesday night, Spartanburg versus Wofford at the Spartan Burgers. I think that's, I don't know if he's text to talk, but if that's what they're called? Awesome.
Sure.
Spartan Burgers.
Finally, we got somebody excited about the season.
That's two. Brad and Chase are excited for the season. Texter weighs in and says, my thoughts on Sellers are how he ended the year, and now he has to prove that that's not who he is. That's fair. That's very fair.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody is completely giving him a pass. And again, like I said a moment ago, we have plenty of evidence to show you how good he can be and what he's capable of. I think last year was an example of trying to do too much and trying to overcompensate for the issues around him. And yeah, a lot of those sacks were on the offensive line, but there were often times where he wasn't getting the ball away and wasn't doing some of those things that we know that he was capable of from the season before. And again, how long do those bad habits linger is the big question. And can Kendall Briles and the offensive staff that's new now coach it out of him? We'll see. Again, you got 6-7 months to get that done. And again, you're going to need him to be at his best to navigate what's going to be, once again, another tricky schedule in SEC play.
And let's see, a couple more text messages on a couple different topics we've talked about. Travis weighs in. I did not see this. I don't know this stat. Maybe you're familiar with it. Travis says, what about the stat Jay Phillips, I assume, shared a few months ago that Arch Manning was the most pressured QB and Sellers was second nationally. The difference was Arch was the most blitzed quarterback and Sellers was near the last 10 in the nation in foes blitzing him.
That's a very believable stat because you watch enough of Texas. Arch Manning was under duress for a lot of the year, and there are similarities and differences between how those two play the quarterback position, and I can't begin to tell you what Texas has done from an offensive line standpoint. But yeah, we know that opponents were getting home against Sellers, not having to blitz a whole lot. So again, that was an area that you addressed. And certainly we expected to be better, and how that translates to him being better this season, we'll see.
Yeah, that was one of the things we talked about earlier this week as it pertains to South Carolina's transfer portal class and the amount of pressure that they are under. One other text to get to, and I'm going to read this. This is from Russ, and he asks, and he says it tongue-in-cheek, but he says, when are they going to start the coaching search? If Beamer has to win 8-9 games to keep his job, they better start now with that schedule and with all the new coaches and players. Good luck. I pray I'm wrong, but great. And then tells us great show as always. Hope I get to meet you tomorrow. Well, not meet me tomorrow, but in Tyler, yesterday, our poll question, the 107.5, the poll question was, what is a fair expectation for baseball?
Right.
A fair expectation. All right. And I said this, the expectation for South Carolina baseball is always bare minimum to host a regional. That doesn't always mean it's fair. Things happen, teams are different, so forth and so on, okay? So what is a fair expectation? Like, I agree. And I told people, I was like, if you want to say, hey, our bare expectation is simply just hosting a regional, not making the tournament, not finishing in the top half of the league, but hosting a regional. Okay, I do get that. I think we're going to have that conversation as well about football. Fair doesn't necessarily mean winning 8 or 9 games. It might hurt. South Carolina has a nice group of talent. They have a good group of talent. You don't tell me their talent is better than Alabama, is better than Oklahoma, is better than Tennessee, is better than Georgia. It's not better than Clemson. It's not better than Texas A&M. And it's conceivable to whether it's better or not than Florida. Those are good. That's 7 right there.
Yeah. So you're right there alone. You're putting yourself already in the middle of the conference at best.
Well, that's just my point. Like, those are 7 teams. And those are good football. People are going to laugh that have listened to me for a long time because I was always down on Billy Napier in Florida.
Right.
Florida's a talented football team.
Always are.
Don't be shocked if, like, John Summerall goes in one year and does that thing where a coach uses other teams' players and they win 9 or 10 games.
Yeah.
Like, don't be shocked by that if, like, the light oil change and then all of a sudden the players transfer, or graduate or whatever, leave, and they fall off. But South Carolina's a good football team, but they're not so good that they are better. Like, just, hey, let's roll the football out, and we're better than those 7 teams I just mentioned.
Yeah, and again, we're going to have months across the offseason to talk about this, but I think you kind of put 3 different layers to where expectations can be, where you can just kind of put it as the low bar of, hey, just get back to a bowl game, which would mean winning at least 6 games. get yourself into the college football playoff, which would mean, around 10 wins probably, or just kind of exist somewhere in the middle of around 8 to maybe 9 wins and what those expectations are. Now, again, given the talent that you have coming back and some of the guys you got out of the portal, I think a lot of people would lean towards that at the very least 8-9 win mark. Some people may go even as far as saying, hey, you need to make the playoff this year, like Beamer laid out and said he expected them to do based on his comments last fall. But I think a lot of other people like, hey, man, just take a step in the right direction. Get back to a bowl game, navigate this tough schedule, and then we'll kind of reassess from there. And I'm interested to see where people's opinions and emotions are with that as the offseason goes along.
Well, it's not that, look, even what I rattled off, that doesn't mean it's acceptable to lose to those 7 teams.
Yeah.
But what I am saying is, I don't think you just, again, it's not, no offense to Mississippi State and Kentucky. South Carolina's better than those 2 teams. And then obviously they better be better than Towson and Kent
If
State.
not, we have some uncomfortable conversations early.
Yeah, well, then if they're not, then we're the change of focus on football by October.
We might start looking at the job boards immediately.
Yeah. But my point on that is, like, you look at those 7 games I mentioned, and if you go 4-3 in them, that's great.
Sure.
All right, now you're hoping that you're sitting there at 9-3. If you go 4-3 in those 7, I'm leaving off one other team in the schedule somewhere along the line. Oh, Arkansas. You're better than Arkansas. There's no excuse. There's no excuse whatsoever for losing any of those 5 games.
Right.
There should be 5 wins right there. And then you look at your other 7, and again, you're talking about, like, okay, are you 3-4 against that group? Are you 4-3 against that group? If you're 3-4, you're 8-4. All right?
Yeah.
That's not bad. You can do the math from there. If you're 4-3, you're 9-3. If you're 2, and then how do you lose the games? I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot.
It is.
And that circles us back to basketball that they play on Saturday night. We will talk some basketball. We'll get into just a little bit of it. Hour 2 on the way. Doug Turnbull will be joining us. We'll also talk about Charles Bediako a little bit because South Carolina plays Alabama. It's the halftime show.
Time right here for our friends over at Canty Foundation Specialists. There is some rain coming into the Midlands this upcoming weekend. And if you have an open crawl space under your home, that rain can leave standing water under there. And I tell you all the time, that can mean a lot of bad things for your home. Mold, mildew, termites can even get into your home if there's enough standing water in your crawl space. So you need to get those issues addressed as soon as possible. That's where our friends at Canty Foundation Specialist come in. Go online to schedule an appointment today at cantyconvicts.com. They'll send a professional out to your home to evaluate your foundation and crawl space needs and get them fixed so you and your family can live worry-free going forward. Again, go online to cantyconvicts.com and schedule an appointment as soon as possible to make sure you don't have standing water underneath your home. Let our friends at Canty Foundation Specialists help you out with your crawl space needs.
had a question in, and I'm looking it up because I will admit, baseball tickets, I've never walked up and bought them. I was looking to see if anybody knows, and we can check on this, if you can just walk up and buy baseball tickets tomorrow at the game. If you wanted to go, obviously now with it being a 1 o'clock game, and the fact that technically Game 3 is now going to be Game 2, if you just showed up and bought tickets. I do not see anywhere that suggests it is a sellout. Now, reminder, tomorrow will start at 1 o'clock. But, Tyler, I'm kind of glancing here. I've got the parking information. But I believe you can just walk up to the stadium tomorrow. If you're off tomorrow and you want to just go catch a doubleheader, you want to go catch part of one game or whatever, I believe you can walk up to the ticket gate and just purchase tickets, and you're good to go.
I believe so. Again, like you said, I haven't seen anything about it being sold out, especially with it being earlier in the afternoon now. Until proven otherwise, I would assume there's some tickets that you can go and grab, or I'm sure you can call the ticket office ahead of time and check that out too. But until I see something about it, I'm just going to assume there are some tickets available.
All right. And then there's promotions this weekend.
Oh, boy.
Tomorrow, you can go and receive a custom opening weekend rally towel to welcome fans back for an exciting year.
Okay,
All right.
sure.
That's tomorrow.
Great.
Saturday, fans will receive a themed Valentine card giveaway featuring some of their favorite Gamecocks.
Is that if you're dragging your significant other to this game and they don't really want to go, will that make up for it?
Yes. There is nothing that significant other would love more than to get a themed Valentine card from a Gamecock baseball player.
It's always the tricky part about opening weekend is it typically falls Valentine's Day somewhere around there. So if you're working the game media-wise or whatever, you have to navigate around that. Fortunately, the game Saturday's early in the day, so you get the rest of the day to do whatever Valentine's things you want to do.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
the weather. Don't be planning a picnic in the afternoon.
Probably not. Again, the worst of it's coming in on Sunday with the rain and all that kind of stuff, which is why the schedule got shifted around the way that it did. But yeah, this may not be the outdoor Valentine's weekend for sure.
All right, let's go a little off topic here. Now we've got a wide variety of people here. Of this, our studio today, we have substituted, and I say this with all love, the elder Dave Adair for the younger Kale. All right.
How old are you, Kale?
I am 23 years old.
23.
Okay. You're older than I thought, but okay.
Yeah, I know. I'm a little crusty.
All right. Kale's 23. Tyler's 29. I'm 43. We got a nice variance of ages here.
Yeah.
Okay, so I ask you guys this question. Now, Kale, do you have a girlfriend? You're not married, right? I mean, 23, I probably should have started with that.
No, I'm not married.
Well, I'm putting you on the spot, by the way. You come on our show. If there's a young lady out there and she's listening right now,
be careful with your answer.
Yeah, you really I'm putting you in a spot on Valentine's. But go ahead.
No, I do not have a girlfriend.
All right, ladies. Kale is tall. He's handsome. He's 23.
And he works in radio.
I was kidding.
That's one of the jobs.
He's entrepreneur over there.
Bill knows a couple of them.
Yeah, he listened to him. The guy's out there. He's doing it. He's doing it. So, ladies, if you're looking for a Valentine's date, just give us a call and or text in, and we'll set you up with Kale. And you can have a lovely McDonald's dinner on Saturday. Is that good for you?
Wow.
I got to look out for your budget,
McDonald's
man.
dinner?
I got to look out for. There's one right by the stadium.
Oh, come on, man.
You can take him to the baseball game. You can take him to the baseball game, and there's, the other restaurant. There was numerous different things closed down. Chinese. It wasn't most recently a Chinese restaurant. All right, you can go across the river. There's a lot of West Columbia has really grown exponentially with restaurants. They just put in a great seafood place over there.
Nice to know that I can always count on you two for being my wingman.
I'm looking out for you right now. All right,
trying, man.
So here's the question, guys, men out there of all ages. All you got to say is yes or no on our text line, 803-404-6100. Are giving roses overrated? And I can expand that out to flowers if you want, but I get it, flowers. But are giving roses on Valentine's, is it overrated?
I'll say no, but it also can't be the only thing, right? Like you have to supplement other things with, like, if you just give roses and a card, it's probably not enough. Like,
Okay.
like that can't be the only thing you give.
Now, this is an interesting topic for me because, again, we got varying ages. And quite frankly, this is actually pretty fascinating. Boy, you want to do it. If y'all have some life questions, now's the time to ask them, because we have Kale, who's 23, who's never been married. Tyler's married at 29. I'm divorced and currently as single as single. I've actually never been this single. I don't know if I've ever been this single on Valentine's Day. And I got to admit, like, I thought about it writing in. I am very happy right
We're
now.
covering the full spectrum.
We have, I mean, literally, we have everything covered today.
What does this single mean? What does that mean?
Like, I have no responsibilities of getting anything, anybody, anything.
Bill, it does not. Bill, outside of it being February 14th, doesn't have to think about
Like,
Saturday as Valentine's Day whatsoever. Doesn't have to text anyone. Doesn't have to make plans or reservations. That kind of thing.
I am not even like, I'm not even in a situation right now where I'm just like,
So you're not even talking to anybody.
I'm not even. I am as single as they come, almost for one of the first times in my life.
Okay.
But like, literally, I can't. If somebody gets offended tomorrow, not tomorrow, whatever, Saturday, again, my weekend.
Yeah.
But if somebody is offended, I didn't know it. We weren't on the same page.
Okay.
So that's how I mean. Like, I literally am. You may see me. You may actually see me at a. There's a lot of great like Valentine's dinners.
Yeah.
That I've seen come across, like, you know, people are promoting. They're like, "Hey, bring your significant other to Valentine's, and we got this." And I've actually looked at a couple, and I've been like, "Man, that looks actually really good. Like that steak in that picture, or that lobster, or whatever." So you may actually see me, and I will be perfectly happy with this, at a restaurant on Saturday night. Because I think my son's got plans with his girlfriend. I've never even had this. My daughter's got plans with her boyfriend, and my son's got plans with her girlfriend. And I'm like, this is like phenomenal. This is great.
You
But
got the house to yourself.
oh, I don't know. I have no clue what. Yes, basketball and popcorn or something, or else I'm going to go to one. But anyway, roses. What do you, Kale? You're the young guy on this, fresh out of high school and college. Roses at your age, 20, overrated, underrated. Now see, and I'm not picking on you. Your budget's different. See, Tyler is a working man. You hear Tyler? He's like, all right, you got to do the roses, but there's got to be something else kind of with them.
Got to be other things.
I've never been against getting flowers. I've gotten flowers before. But I just don't think that's the only thing you do. So what I do is I would get flowers, and then I would get her a card, and then I would take her maybe to dinner that night as well.
See, that works.
Or take her to get ice cream if she doesn't want to do anything big.
Okay. Yeah. And again, depending on where you're at in life, if you're 18 years old and you're broke and maybe all you can afford is roses and a card, sure. But when you start making money and, you know, all that kind of stuff, then yeah, I think there's an expectation of more in addition to just the
More than
flowers.
just roses. All right.
And
all
also,
right.
listen, different women, some like
Very
flowers,
true.
some don't.
Very
so
true.
It's for different ones, the flowers mean more than others. So you also have to figure out, okay, are flowers going to mean something to the woman that I'm with?
Okay. All right. Joe goes with flowers are overrated. Another texter says flowers will help you enjoy the rest of your evening. It's not how he worded it, but I'm not going to word it that way. Another texter says no, roses are standard. Texter says, or Ricky, yes, roses are overrated. Matt goes with 100% yes. Wife thinks it's cliche and unoriginal. See, that's why I'm wondering. Rick goes with been married for 33 years, only got her roses twice. She still loves me, and she thinks they're overrated.
I mean, like, here's the thing. It shouldn't be like it should not be the deciding factor on if the day goes well or not for you. If that's the case, if you're not buying roses, means the entire day is going wrong, then there may be some other problems in the relationship there. Can it be cliche? Yeah. Because, again, every movie and TV show, it's kind of the go-to thing there. But, and again, I think it does depend on the woman and what you know about her and how she feels about flowers. I think that also plays into.
Our good buddy Chris Deering weighs in and says, yes, 100%. Way overrated. Take it from a 57-year-old.
Okay, and again, listen, everybody has different life experiences, and some people may have gotten burned on the roses thing at some points where they never want to do it again. I will say, I'll take a page from my dad's playbook here. Any hand-picked flowers, whether it's roses or dandelions on the side of the road, are better than what you buy from the store.
Say that again?
My dad's gone the route of like, hey, there's this patch of flowers that's on the side of the road, and picks them himself for my mom. And that is going to be better than any flowers you buy from the store, whether it's roses or not.
So
If you can go hand-picked, go hand-picked. Now, don't go into somebody's garden and pick the flowers. That is not good. But if you find wild flowers growing and you can pick them, do that.
All right.
One time I had to go to 3 or 4 different stores because her favorite flowers were tulips. And everywhere I went, they didn't have them, but they had everything else.
So
That's effort. That's effort.
Did you tell her that you went to multiple stores?
Yes.
Or in the points?
Yeah,
Okay,
you
good,
got
good. You got to make sure you are like, hey, listen, this wasn't like I walked in and found them right away. There's some effort put in here.
And then that last store you found them at was like 17 hours away. You had to like make a special trip.
And when I got them, they were the last ones.
Oh yeah, exactly. Good job. Whether you're telling us the truth or not is irrelevant.
Whether there was 1,000 of them or not, they were the last ones.
Exactly.
Curtis weighs in and says, second date with my wife was the Gamecock baseball game 11 years ago. Hey, baseball games are, by the way, a good date. Like, very laid back. You can talk to each other.
It's not like any other sport.
You can throw popcorn shells at each other. Not popcorn shells, peanut shells at each other. Yeah, it's a good time.
It's kind of like a movie where there's something going on that you can talk about, right? So with the baseball, hey, there's an event happening in front of you. There's food. There's souvenirs. Like, there's always something going on. That way, if there's awkwardness, you can always pivot.
I'm like that. Again, Texter continues, we're still going strong today. And then said, let's find Kale and Bill dates for Saturday night. No, I did not. I'm enjoying my time after the previous week. I'm good. I'm happier right now. Like, really happy.
If we had the time tomorrow, we could play the matchmaking game for you guys.
So I am single. But I do have a date Saturday.
That boy, good job.
So
that's the other thing, man. You don't just go looking for this on Saturday. We don't mess him up now.
Is this a first date?
Yes.
A first date on Valentine's Day.
What were you doing?
Oh boy. Oh boy, Kale.
What are you thinking?
Be very careful.
Why?
Man. Because your expectations of what that day is and hers are going to be very different. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that right now.
Why did you do? Did you do this or did she set this up?
I think a little bit of both. I kind of just
needed to have something to do, son. No. You.
Oh boy! Hey, let us know how that goes next week. I'm curious.
Oh my word.
Okay. I mean, I'll try. If it doesn't go well, I don't think I will let you know.
Let us know. The whole world's paying attention. We had to do this with Patrick Perrette. We helped find. Patrick Perrette's all married and happy now, and good stuff. We found him a woman. He's done great. Went to Nashville and is just living life.
Now, did you contribute to that, or are you just taking credit for it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Let me get a few more of these real quick here, then we'll get out of here. Also, Charles Bloom is listening. And Mr. Bloom, thank you for your answer on the ticket question. I'll read that in just a second. Now, Mr. Bloom, please weigh in with your flowers take. Let's see here. Jeff said, Bill, you got to get a big steak and a cold beer since you have the house to yourself. Maybe not a beer, but maybe a Valentine's Day bourbon. Text always in, flowers are not overrated. The card is overrated and a waste of money. I agree with that. And then last texter says, I think being married changes the conversation. Young dating, comparing to knowing your spouse after time, completely changes the dynamics. And that's why this made it really entertaining. We had the young guy in Kale, the married guy in Tyler, who's kind of how many years are you in now?
It'll be 3 in April.
3, and then you got me, who is actually coming up on a decade of divorce and in a very long relationship that, again, I am very happy to be as single as I am. Again, if you see me, come by and say hello if you see me on Saturday night, just sitting there enjoying my lobster or steak or whatever restaurant.
We got to put you on the Bachelor.
No, I'm good, man.
That would be entertaining.
I got a lot.
I was about to say yes.
I got a lot going on in life.
Either you or Dave.
Not me. Not me. Real quick, for those wondering, Charles Bloom sends us this single game tickets for Gamecock baseball available at Founders Park tomorrow and online at Gamecocks Online. All right, we'll get back to sports. You're listening to the Halftime Show. It is 1:20 on your Thursday. Coming up here in about 10 minutes, we will catch up with Doug Fireball Turnbull to get ready for the Daytona 500. Cale, there are niche sports that I think we really get into in this country, sports that we don't watch. And, NASCAR is not for everybody. It's a different sport. Tyler loves it. I have become addicted to it. I've got to be honest. I got to thank Jen for that because, we started doing our pick 'em and everything, and it became something where I got into NASCAR. But prior to that, prior to me actually getting into NASCAR, I knew about the Daytona 500 and I liked it. And to me it was a sign that spring was coming. The Kentucky Derby. I couldn't name you. Well, I can name a few more horse races. I think you bet MGM and all other Vegas casinos.
The only other one that I know outside of the Kentucky Derby is the Carolina Cup. Is that what it is?
No, I mean, you got to know about the Preakness and Belmont Stakes. I mean, that's the Triple Crown. I mean, I guess you don't have to know. You're young, and you probably don't put financial investments in it like I do. But
I remember one time.
Probably wise.
I randomly picked, I forgot how old I was. I think I was 10, maybe 11. But I picked the winner of the Kentucky Derby just by writing the name on a sticky note. And I never thought I would.
Did you get money for it? Did you get at least some jelly beans?
I was about to say, I was 11 years old. I don't think I could have gambled.
We don't.
Oh, you can.
We don't encourage that kind of degeneracy, Bill.
Staff meeting after the show.
Yeah.
What is your favorite race? What was your favorite race growing up?
Oh, man.
Your favorite? I don't.
Daytona's obviously the biggest of the entire year. And I don't just say this now because I live here in South Carolina, but I always hold a special place for the Southern 500. Yeah. I think it's the most demanding and grueling race. Throwback, it's older than the Daytona 500, so I always hold that one pretty near and dear. The Bristol Night Race is obviously really, really special. Coke 600, those are among the biggest ones. Brickyard 400 when you talk about the crown jewels. But yeah, Daytona and Darlington definitely kind of the top two for me.
Yeah, I gotta because Daytona was always in the spring and it was the start of NASCAR, so it got a little more publicity.
Sure.
Daytona to me before my I love NASCAR days or I've gotten into it days was always the biggest one, and you've got that this weekend, and that's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to talk with Doug coming up here in a few minutes about that. The Kentucky, but I would say this is the race also that draws the casuals to it a little bit.
It does. It's the most viewed race every single year. Again, from a professional sports standpoint, you got the NBA All-Star Game going on this weekend, but you don't have a lot of other distractions from professional sports happening this weekend that allow it the ability to stand on its own a little bit.
Are you guys into the NBA All-Star Game?
Not really.
Have you ever been into the NBA All-Star Game?
I have.
You have?
Yeah.
Did you ever?
Not really. I mean, I put an eye on it, but it's not something I make appointment television.
Okay. You're still into it, Cale?
I wouldn't say I'm into it as much. My biggest thing that I would watch, you said just the All-Star Game, just that, or like the All-Star stuff in general?
Yeah, you can go All-Star stuff in general.
I remember lots of times me and my dad would watch the dunk contest a lot. Me and my dad and my brother. But as for the game, I would watch it only... I watched it a lot when I was younger, but now I really only watch it if there's a player from my team in it or my favorite player in the league.
I could make the case that as irrelevant as the Pro Bowl has become, because the Pro Bowl was always fairly irrelevant.
Sure.
The NBA All-Star Game was a spectacle. It was awesome. The dunk contest, the three-point contest. Growing up, to Cale's point, and this is kind of an interesting show for me because, again, we've got three varying age groups here at different points in our lives with different sports. Growing up, Cale, the All-Star Weekend was one of the especially when I was in middle school and I was starting to really play basketball. It was an incredible weekend, a phenomenal. Me and my friends would get together and have a spend the night party. In middle school, we'd be watching everything. You'd watch the 3-point contest. You'd watch the dunk contest. I feel like I should be having this conversation with Terry. I feel like Terry would understand where I'm coming from on this. But the bottom line is it has become so irrelevant and so bad. I would actually say it is the worst All-Star game now, below the Pro Bowl.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, and like the Pro Bowl is at least leaned into the fact that like this isn't a serious game, and now we're playing flag football. So if you can enjoy it for what it is, then it's fine. But like last year, the NBA All-Star Game did the thing where they had the mini games, and there were celebrities that were like in between. Like Mr. Beast was there, Kevin Hart was there, and like in like 3 hours you had like maybe 40 minutes of basketball or something like that. It was clunky and messy, and this year they're doing like the Four Nations type thing like hockey did last year. So they keep throwing things at the wall to see what sticks, and they can't. The problem with All-Star games, like the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, has stayed pretty consistent over the years. They've tweaked a few things here or there. They did the weird thing where they were determining home field advantage for the World Series as well, which I'm glad that that's kind of gone. But it's mainly stayed the same, so you know what to expect. I can tune into the NBA All-Star Game every single year, having no clue how different it's going to be than the year prior because they can't figure out what they want to do with it.
Well, the dunk contest, I mean, this year you lack the big names in it. Damian Lillard is going to participate in the three-point contest because he speaks to them needing stars in it. It's just, I mean, Kale, you're not even close to familiar. I don't know if you watch YouTube videos of the great dunk contests of the 90s. Like, I mean, just ridiculous. And there's people probably my age that don't care a thing about the NBA now. But I'll tell you, man, if you were around for NBA All-Star games in the 90s, and then when you take it into what I would say, and I shouldn't say true competitors because the guys prior were true competitors, but when you talk about the Jordans and the Kobes going against each other in the All-Star games, and you talk about that group of guys, man, these things, that was must-see television. And now I truthfully don't even know kind of when the All-Star game is. I'd forgotten about it until I think one of y'all just mentioned the All-Star game. It's what jogged my memory.
Yeah.
And I truly think that the NBA All-Star game has moved below the Pro Bowl when it comes to relevance in terms of All-Star. Baseball, I think, will always have a spot because, like you said, there's only so much you can do to change the game.
Right, and it's the closest thing to the actual product.
I never know what the viewership or the hype around the Pro Bowl is now, but ever since they went away with the pads and went away with the actual tackling, that's when I just like absolutely hated it. I genuinely cannot stand it now.
803-404-6100. We'll get into the Daytona 500. Doug Turnbull joins us next. You're listening to the Halftime Show. a nice warm day, spring training opening up, and the Daytona 500. All signs that spring is finally right. Get out of here, groundhog. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he was wrong.
Those are the things that tell us that spring is right around the corner. And joining us now to talk about one of the opening days of spring, one of the great days, the Daytona 500. Welcome in, Mr. Doug Turnbull. Glad to have you this afternoon as we do each and every week. You got to be ready. We're making some picks this week, big fella.
Hey, I am ready for that. I've had to do some thinking about it, and it's good to be on with you guys. And I'm very excited about baseball for sure, but nothing gets me fired up more than those engines firing. And I know we had the tease of it last week at the Clash, but when haulers enter the infield in Daytona Beach, Florida, it's time to go.
Yeah, one thing you'll know, Doug's a massive Braves fan, so we can work that as we get into the spring, too. So
Yeah.
Excited for baseball to get rolling here. Last night, we finally got some cars on the track at Daytona with qualifying, and Kyle Busch ends up sitting on the pole, Chase Briscoe outside front row. So those guys are locked in. What happens to duels with them tonight, notwithstanding, as long as their cars stay in one piece, they'll lead the field to the green flag on Sunday. And for Kyle Busch, I find it really interesting because it's been a tough couple of years. For him at RCR, won 3 races in his first year there back in 2023. Rough go the past 2 years, looking to get things back on track this year. And I feel like watching him sit on the pole last night, that's either the start of what's going to be a really good season, or that might end up being the only highlight we talk about for Kyle Busch and the 8 team in 2026. I don't feel like there's kind of an in-between. You know what I mean?
It's tough to say. I mean, the Daytona pole is so unpredictable, but it's certainly good press for him after how last season went, for sure. And we'll get into some picks later. I always root for the guys that have those long winless streaks in the 500. So Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski both, who will be starting their 21st and 17th American races, respectively. You love to see people knock those streaks off and at least get that one win. And some of the greatest drivers of all time didn't win the Daytona 500, like Tony Stewart or Rusty Wallace or Mark Martin. But that would be the one thing that Kyle Busch really hasn't done. And he's been close a couple of times, though I was surprised to see during the qualifying broadcast on Fox last night on FS1 that he's only had 5 top 10s in 20 Daytona 500. So it's a really wild race, a lot of crashes. But and looking at his career stats, only 13 top 10s ever in 41 Daytona races. He's only won once there on the track in the summer in 2008. So there's a lot summer of 2009, I think it was. But there's a lot to anticipate about that, and I agree with you. It's a way to get off on the right foot, especially with some changes that have happened behind the scenes at Richard Childress Racing. And one more thing, he's got a new crew chief in Jim Pullman, who was the crew chief for Justin Allgaier for several years in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, and they won a championship in 2024. So new blood there on the 18.
Let's kind of look to the start of just a brand new year in the excitement. I kind of asked you this 2 weeks ago, but as we really kind of get rolling now with everything, things that you're looking for this weekend in particular at Daytona.
I would love for the story to be about what happens on that racetrack and who crosses the start-finish line first. Not when something is officiated and someone got out of line on a restart. Not did the caution lights come on at this time, which is how William Byron won it 2 years ago, where he was just ahead of Alex Bowman at a certain time, right? It would be nice to not have any weather interrupt things, and I know there's always a chance of rain in Daytona, and just to have good, clean, exciting races for all 4 series down there. That includes the ARCA series that runs on Saturday afternoon. So that's really what I'm anticipating, and that would fit the theme that got interrupted a little bit at the Clash last week with the rain and sleet and snow and all that. But that would fit the theme of a new breath of fresh air, as they call it, the Hell Yeah campaign, the return to the roots, the return to the playoff format called the Chase. The lawsuit being in the rearview mirror, all of those things, to have it go off without any kind of major stoppage or stupid argument afterwards would be great.
Yeah, a clean run to the finish is something I root for at every drafting/speedway race these days, because they do kind of divulge into calamity, unfortunately, more often than not. I am interested to see, because this was one of the main talking points that NASCAR President Steve O'Donnell brought up when reintroducing the chase format a couple weeks back, is how we talk about the winner of the Daytona 500 this year compared to years past, where it's been, you won the Daytona 500, but now you're also in, at that point in time, the playoffs, and it changes how you approach the regular season and all that kind of stuff. Now it's this long process of figuring out who the top 16 are, where I feel like for the first time in a while, we can truly let the fact that somebody won the Daytona 500 marinate for that day and for the coming weeks after that.
Yeah, you would think that, and it's kind of, I wonder if that point was almost overmade, because now it seems to be that's what's being echoed and repeated. But it is true. Who cares about the playoffs? And by the way, not who cares, but who cares about the playoffs when you're hoisting the Harley J. Earl Trophy? And I want to say this preceded the playoff elimination format. If you go back to the last version of the chase where they had the wild card position, the wild card position was reserved for the highest person in points that won a race, right? And so there was even talking like, the 2012, 13 area, maybe 2011, like, 2011 was Trevor Baynes and not. He wasn't running for points. But, does that mean, technically have a win to fall back on to make the playoffs? And, of course, you have, like, say, Nat Kenseth hoisting the trophy going, no, man. I remember when Dale Jr. won his second 500 in the first year of this playoff format, and someone dared ask him when he was driving the 88 car about the playoffs, and I don't remember the exact quote, but it was, come on, man. I just won the Daytona 500. So, yeah, hopefully we'll get to that.
Let me ask both of you real quick here, and then we're going to get to Tyler explaining how we're going to do these picks. We will pick each week. I think I've got mine ready, and one of the names has already been mentioned by Doug. There is a guy that I wrote down two. I got two that I liked. Okay. But let me get both of you's opinion on this, because, again, I'm more of the kind of newbie here. Noah Gragson. All right.
Yeah.
What in the world happened here? So he is busted for sticking his hand out of the window.
Correct.
Layman's terms, Doug, I'll start with you.
Yeah. So the drivers need any advantage they can during qualifying. In past years, they were sticking their hand up basically where the driver's side window meets the frame of the car. There's a little duct or hole right there, and it blocked out air, and it's maybe worth a fraction of a scintilla of a second. And there have been some shenanigans going on with that, including Joey Logano using webbed gloves to do it. At Daytona, I think it was a couple of years ago, or maybe it was Atlanta. But the point is, they banned that. Noah Gragson did it during qualifying, and he was slow anyway. His time was disallowed, which didn't cost him a ton. They're going to race, for positions tonight in the duels. And he said afterwards he just forgot the rule. So that's a little kind of stuff for a tiny team like, or I'd say tiny, a small team like Front Row Motorsports. You just can't afford to do it when fractions of a second mean everything. That was definitely a driver error.
Yeah, no, he nailed it. And again, you give these guys an inch, they'll take it a mile, and that was something they were using to try and gain any kind of microcosm of an advantage during qualifying that NASCAR has outlawed. And, yeah, he just kind of forgot that rule that had been put in place, so he paid for it.
Again, for those of y'all that wonder what exactly we're talking about, I found this funny. Gragson is the first driver under this new rule busted for Daytona 500 qualifying for violating new rules that specifies drivers are banned from sticking their hands out of the opening of their window during the qualifying. I was like, so that explains it, because I thought like he's actually kind of like he's making a left turn and he's got his hand out, kind of like people do. Or
yeah, it's deflecting the air. And again, what's it worth? Not a whole lot, but when you're talking about fractions and milliseconds and all that kind of stuff, it can go a long way.
Real quick, about a minute, that we're going to make the picks. Gragson was said last night he feels like Daytona 500 is such a long race, you can kind of start wherever.
Oh, he's absolutely true on that. And again, as long as you can stay out of trouble, you can find yourself in the mix there at the very end. The draft's kind of the great equalizer, and yeah, he's going to have a shot as long as he keeps his nose clean.
There you go. All right, Tyler, explain what you're.
And by the way, he could still get a good starting position by finishing well in one of the two qualifying races tonight, where they split the field of odds and evens. So I mean, however many laps it is tonight, it's a short race, but you could still get it back.
So we get into our what we call the Survivor Pick'em this year, where unlike what you guys did on the early game for years past, where you're just picking who you think is going to win the race. We have 36 points races, and we have 36 full-time charter teams. So every single week, we will all make our picks. The caveat being you cannot pick the same driver twice during the year. So that brings in a little bit of strategy here. As far as points go, the highest finisher amongst us three each week will get 3 points. Second highest finisher gets 2. Lowest finisher gets 1. If you pick the driver that also wins the race, you'll get an additional 5 bonus points for that. Again, you cannot pick the same driver twice, so you got to play strategy. Bill, if you pick Denny Hamlin this weekend, you cannot use him for the remaining 35 races, so you have to be very strategic about this.
And I would have picked Denny Hamlin this weekend. I would have taken Denny Hamlin. Well, I probably wouldn't if he's got a lot going on his. There's a lot happening for Denny Hamlin.
He's got a lot going on. Did qualify well last night, so good start there. But, yeah, a lot of things happening off the track.
And for clarity, we can pick the same driver. The three of us. Like, if you took Denny Hamlin, I could also take Denny Hamlin.
No.
Okay, so we can't pick.
And each week we're going to go in order of who finished last, picking first. So Doug being our guest, we're going to let him pick first, and then we'll go after that.
Okay.
So, Doug, who is your pick for the first Survivor of the year?
Okay, and so I make this pick and knowing this race puts more people in contention, even though there's so few people that have won it. So I'm gonna go actually, and I hope I didn't mess you up, man. But I hope I am gonna go with Kyle Busch to break his streak.
All right,
he's got a fast car. A lot of times pole sitters do it, but we're gonna go with Kyle Busch.
All right, Bill.
All right, you want me to pick?
Yep.
Okay, I thought he was gonna go Brad Keselowski. But you know what? I'm going to switch. That's who I wrote down too, Keselowski and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I'm going to go Stenhouse Jr. He won 2 years ago or 3 years ago?
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
I'm going to go Ricky Stenhouse. I don't see myself using him again.
I'm going to go opposite here. You got to burn these guys up at some point. I'm going to go Cody Ware.
Okay.
I think he could survive a melee and maybe finish in the top 15, but you got to use him at some point, so I'll go Cody Ware this weekend in the Daytona 500. So looking forward to...
Can I throw a stat at you guys before we go?
Sure, real quick.
So the last time a pole sitter won the Daytona 500, back-to-back years, 99 and 2000, Jeff Gordon and Dale Jarrett. So I'm going out on a limb here, but stick with Busch.
We'll see what happens. It's going to be an exciting weekend. We'll wrap it or talk about it next week with you, Doug. Looking forward to it.
Sounds good. Thank you, boys. Enjoy the weekend.
All right, halftime show. We'll come back and wrap up the hour here on the game.
Final segment of the hour, and then we'll head into the 2 o'clock hour. Chance Miller, Coastal Carolina Athletic Director, will hop on the phone with us coming up at 2:15. We'll catch up with all the things going on down in Conway. We caught up with Ryan Beard last week, head football coach, and Kevin Schnall will probably be joining us next week as they get into their season and get set to make another run back to Omaha. So big things happening down there, and we'll catch up with Chance Miller and get his take on some different things, not just baseball, but college sports related as well. College sports related as well, as we are kind of sitting here monitoring Twitter, speaking of, to see kind of the big news of the day. And Tyler, we haven't really gotten into this, but the Trinidad Chambliss news, this would be pretty big depending on what happens. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's going to be a top 3 Heisman candidate.
Sure.
You're talking about a guy who a lot of people think might be the best quarterback in the SEC if he comes back. You're talking about changing the dynamics of Mississippi in Pete Golding's true first year if he is eligible against if he's out.
Yeah, if he comes back for another year, they're immediately in the short list of conversation for not only the SEC, but the national championship, considering what he did a decade ago. And is the hearing still going on? I haven't looked at the latest update yet, but if it is, it's going on for several hours now, and we're waiting to see what that ruling is going to be. Again, like you, I kind of lean towards him probably getting it because it is a medical situation that occurred to him back at Ferris State, as opposed to, hey, I just played at a lower level and I want more eligibility because of that. But yeah, a lot for Ole Miss riding on Trinidad Chambliss being, and they've kind of been operating as if he's going to be the returning anyway. They just need the confirmation on it.
I don't know what this word means.
You sound it out.
Post traction.
Okay.
You know what that is?
Like what is there a sentence there?
And that doesn't make any sense either. But this comes from Gil LeBrent, and he just tweeted it out less than a minute ago. And he is a 37-year columnist for the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. So pretty reliable, older, I'm looking at his picture, older veteran of reporting news. And he says, he's, I guess, there, and he says, unless they discover that Trinidad Chambliss's car has post-traction, I think that's what it says. I've never seen that word before in my life. He says, I don't see any way this court in Mississippi rules in favor of the NCAA today. It's got a definite My Cousin Vinny vibe to it.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. Let's see what the old Google machine has to say. I don't know how that would be a reference to, and maybe there's a comment within court that we're missing the context of here, but I don't know what post traction. I don't know. I guess I don't know if that, I'm truthfully. As I'm assuming he's talking about traction control, which would allow better grip for your car.
Rear, a brand-specific term for limited slip differential.
Yeah,
for both rear wheels.
You're limiting wheel
torque.
spin.
So I get, So I guess, I don't know if that's something off of My Cousin Vinny or not, because I've never watched the movie from start to finish. I've always picked it up at parts. But I say that just because you got a legit reporter trying to make a joke, but what it is sounding like is that the court ruling is, or the hearing is going in favor of Trinidad Chambliss. And again, the reason that's important is this changes the dynamics of the 2026 college football season a little bit.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Again, you look at Ole Miss as a legitimate national championship contender with him at quarterback, and that's kind of what they're banking on. And again, he does have a very believable case based on what we've seen in years past in terms of guys that have been granted eligibility and all that. And I know the NCAA finally won the case against Bediako the other day, but this is a much, much different situation, and I fully expect Trinidad Chambliss to get the approval to continue playing at Ole Miss.
I'm just looking. There's another guy who has put up a picture. Cheryl Chambliss, the mother of Trinidad Chambliss, was on the spot here just a little while ago. This is 50 minutes ago, coming from Chase Parham, who is. Did y'all have him on? That name sounds familiar.
He's with. Yes, we did.
Okay.
From, is it Rebel Grove or Ole Miss Spirit?
It's 24/7 Sports, whatever it is.
See, I had thought that they had already come to a conclusion on this whole ordeal.
They denied him his eligibility, and he appealed, and that's what this is.
Okay.
And so, but Chase Parham tweeted out about 45 minutes ago that they are on lunch break now. They went to
Okay.
lunch break.
So it's going to be going on for a while.
Yeah, so we'll keep you updated. Because, again, like I said, South Carolina doesn't play Mississippi this year, but you talk about changing the dynamics of the SEC a little bit. We look at the quarterbacks in this league, and I brought it up yesterday, Tyler. If let's just hypothetically say Lenore Sellers is not your quarterback, and I know we're limited on time, so I'll ask you and Kale this. If Lenore Sellers isn't your quarterback, and you got to choose another SEC quarterback to be your quarterback in 2026, who do you choose? And if you want to count Chambliss in that group, who do you go with?
I think Chambliss, Gunnar Stockton is somebody you have
Arch
to entertain
Manning.
as well. Arch Manning. All those guys in reasonable conversation.
Who do you choose?
I might go Chambliss, actually.
Kale, real quick, 10 seconds. Kale's doing something. Kale's doing something
Kale's
else.
producing.
We'll go
That's
back.
okay.
We'll go back into it in hour number 3. Chance Miller set to join us as well. You're listening to the Halftime Show. little Post Malone, who's just everywhere now. Mostly hanging out with Shane Gillis and Peyton Manning.
You a big Post Malone fan?
I am.
I saw him and Jelly Roll last year in concert. That was a good show.
Bill, I would not have guessed that Post Malone was in your wheelhouse.
Oh, buddy. Yeah.
You'd be surprised at Bill's musical taste.
I'm eclectic. I'm all over
A
the map.
lot of these rejoiners that you hear are what Bill sent me, and I was like, wow, I didn't know Bill was into that.
Yep.
I wouldn't have queued you up for a Little Wayne guy.
Yeah.
You're a Little Wayne guy?
Yeah.
Little Wayne early on, Little Wayne early on I did not like, and now I've come around on him.
Is he your favorite hip-hop artist?
No, not even close.
Who is?
Well, I'm old. I'd go with the old school stuff. Like the new stuff, I don't know. What do you consider new? Like, are we still considering one of the Migos has passed away, and they haven't really put anything out? Like,
I mean, I wouldn't consider
Quavo.
I wouldn't consider them old.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I still like Migos, but most of their older stuff. Kendrick Lamar. The new T.I. is a banger.
Okay.
The new T.I. I mean, I'm still a huge T.I. fan.
Okay.
I mean, I know he's passed away, but DMX was DMX, Tupac, and Dr. Dre. There's a great Instagram video of the producer, and I'm not trying to, again, go down any political ties on this, but I do have to say, like, the Dr. Dre Snoop Dogg, I was reading something last night, and it was talking about the halftime shows, and it was ranking them or whatever, and I'm not going to go in. Bad Bunny was actually, contrary to what people wanted to be, Bad Bunny was in the top 5, according to this article. Prince was number 1. Well, I don't remember the Prince. I have no recollection of it. But Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, and that one was number 2.
Okay.
But anyway, recently I came across an Instagram video, and basically it's the producer, and he says, they've got the earpieces in, and literally they're counting down to them coming on stage. 5, 4, 3, and he says they get to 4, and Snoop Dogg in the earpiece goes, Dre, is it la-da-da-da-da or da-da-da-da-dee? And you can imagine Dr. Dre had words as he's literally coming up on stage, or Snoop just hits it, because I happened to see the video of it where he goes la da 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 da, and then Dre hits it. But yeah, Snoop couldn't remember the words. Snoop Dogg is have y'all watching him in Milan?
Yes.
I haven't watched him in Milan. No, I have not.
I mean, he is a big kid. Like, I'm not tall, but like, this guy's having the time of his life. Now, they can't put him on skis or anything like with ice, because he falls every time.
Okay. So those are a couple of yours. So, Tyler, who's your favorite hip-hop artist?
Oh, man. Lil Wayne's certainly up there. I think lyrically he's one of the best of all time. Eminem as well. Man, Wiz Khalifa. I'm going to go back to my high school days.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to date myself here, but that's up there.
Can you guess mine?
No clue.
You're
Bill?
young, man.
Bill, any guesses? He's been doing it for about 10 years now. 10 or 11 years.
Did we say Kendrick Lamar?
No. Well, you didn't guess that for me.
Okay. Kendrick Lamar?
No.
Okay, who you got?
Travis Scott.
Yeah, I watched that documentary on him, and I'm kind of, I don't know. I don't know where I fall on Travis Scott.
Teach their own, man. Teach their own.
Yeah, I don't know where I fall on him.
We'll leave it at that.
803-404-6100. The news of the day, I think it's expected. I think it was expected. South Carolina has dismissed Devontae Miles from the football team. No shocker, guys, on this. Like, again, one thing that I'll say about the Shane Beamer tenure, we can debate 7-6 his first year. You can debate 8-4, 9-3, and then the 5-7 and 4-8. We can debate all that. The one thing I think you have to agree is that Shane Beamer's run a very clean program that has stayed out of trouble. Yeah, you're always going to have a thing here or a thing there. I believe, correct me if I'm, you had the incident with the guns. I keep forgetting about that.
Yeah, and again, those guys were gone as soon as they got here, so it's easy to kind of forget. But and Miles was involved in that small group that did have to serve a short suspension last year. We don't really know the details on that, but all things considered, at least in my 4 years here covering the program, we haven't had to talk about this kind of stuff a lot.
Right. But Devontae Miles dismissed. We kind of brought it up. What does it mean? What does it actually matter? you lose a body. Again, who knows? Maybe Devontae Miles would have had this incredible spring and blossomed and turned into a starter. Very, very unlikely, though. Very, very unlikely. And instead, you lose a depth piece. And Tyler, all that really means is somebody else who maybe you weren't counting on, maybe one of the freshmen that redshirted last year. It's time for them to step up a little bit. Maybe you want to go to the transfer portal. There's still plenty of names in there that you can pluck out if you want to just a depth piece. I'm not trying to downplay what this means, but because to me, anytime you recruit a guy, you have him on campus, keep him on campus for a year, it sucks to lose him in a situation like this. But this is a situation where, quite frankly, you go, okay, we didn't lose anything here.
I look at it like instead of this situation unfolding where he gets arrested and gets kicked off the team that way, if Devontae Miles had entered his name into the transfer portal back at the beginning of January and he was no longer returning to the team that way, how would we view this? And I think we would say, okay, well, there went a depth piece, but he's not somebody that you expected to be like the guy on that defense line. Again, you do want to go out there and at least address that body in the room for depth purposes and all that kind of stuff. But again, I don't think it drastically changes the way we look at the defensive line or the defense by any means.
Is it fair to compare it to like losing Jatavius Shivers on the offensive line?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty apt comparison. Again, somebody that could have definitely been in contention for a starting spot, but I don't think anybody was penciling him in to be a starter on the offensive line since we're talking about Shivers. And I think the same thing would have been said about Miles. He would have played. He would have had his opportunities like a year ago, but I think you looked at, Gabriel Brownlow-Denley, TD, Jordan Thomas transferring over from Georgia as the guys you kind of looked at and saying, okay, here's kind of the main guys we're looking at on the defensive line.
Yep, 803-404-6200, but that is kind of the news of the day. Again, setting up for a busy weekend. Reminder, baseball tomorrow. If you've been living under an absolute rock or you haven't been paying attention at all, South Carolina will have a doubleheader tomorrow over at Founders Park. It'll get going at 1 o'clock against Northern Kentucky. Riley Goodman will be on the mound. Tyler and I have both agreed that we're interested to see this. Like, I'm going to have maybe a little more interest in game one. Amp Phillips in game 2 for the Gamecocks tomorrow. But I think the way that don't let me put words in your mouth, but the way that we've been sold on Riley Goodman by Jamie Bradford, I'm kind of like, all right, I need to see this guy.
Again, he's the president of the Riley Goodman fan club. And, we can look at somebody like an Amp Phillips, say, okay, what did he do at USC Upstate that we can look at and maybe draw some comparisons to what the expectations are going to be. Riley Goodman has not thrown a single inning of college baseball. He's been on the roster for a year, and we've had that hype for him since he's been on campus, but we have absolutely zero things to go off of in terms of what the expectations are going to be. And again, the outside of scrimmage stuff, obviously, which I always take that kind of stuff with a grain of salt. So, and look, if he goes out there and he tosses, 7 innings and only gives up 1 run, we're not ready to anoint him the greatest pitcher of all time. If he goes out there and struggles in his first start, I don't think we should jump off the ship and say, okay, get this guy out of there and put him on the bench. Like, it's going to be a process of really figuring out what he's going to be. I obviously hope we get off to a good start tomorrow. But, yeah, that's a tough spot to put anybody in for the first time, being the opening day starter on a Friday night, regardless of who the opponent is. But I think we're all excited to see how he blossoms and how he progresses.
803-404-6100. So, again, we will be at Village Idiot tomorrow from 9 a.m. until 12:40. Stop by. You can hang out with us. You can talk with us, have a slice of pizza, grab a beverage, and then head on over to Founders Park. Village Idiot in the Olympia Mill section, not the 5 Points, but the Olympia Mill section. So come to Olympia Mill tomorrow and hang out with Tyler, with Jack, Veltri, with Chris and Wes. Go harass Chris and Wes. Ask all your recruiting questions, all of them. Just save them up and ask them. They'll be glad to answer them. And hang out with all the fellas there as we get you set for baseball. Also this weekend, basketball taking place. And Tyler, 8:30 game in Tuscaloosa. South Carolina hadn't played for a week. Alabama is angry. Nate Oates is leaning into the villain role better than anybody I've ever seen do it now. He's citing other players who played professionally in Europe. He's whining. He's crying. This is why Nate Oates is the biggest villain in the SEC and maybe becoming the biggest villain in college basketball.
Yeah. Look, when Nick Saban, who, again, was within the same athletics association as this guy for several years, really expressed how much he didn't really seem to favor Nate Oates all that much. I think that tells you everything that you need to know about him. He's a really good basketball coach, and there's a reason why Alabama has been able to have success they've had over the past couple of years, because he can win at a high level. But yeah, the route and some of the excuses he's come up with during this whole Bediako saga is certainly something that, if you weren't already turned off by the guy, certainly makes you want to do that. And here's my thing: we've seen Alabama play; they're dominant. They took care of Buckyball the other day in a pretty remarkable performance there. They've got bigs, which has been South Carolina's Achilles heel this season, and I just think it's going to be a rough night for the Gamecocks, unfortunately.
I'm with you. Now, I will say it's going to be interesting for me to see South Carolina and what their fight is, because it seems like we've discussed a lot lately their kind of competitive spirit when things have gone poorly for them, which unfortunately that has happened the majority of the time. But when things have gone poorly for them, Tyler, they have, to an extent, I don't know if it's they just start getting whipped or if they're bad or if they've quit. And that's one thing I hate to ask and I hate to watch tomorrow night. Excuse me. I'm stuck on this.
Saturday.
This is,
two more days. For most
It doesn't
of us.
feel like a Thursday at all.
No.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm just all messed up. But tomorrow, Saturday night, that particular game. Now, by the way, for those of you wondering, Bama's won 3 in a row, and you mentioned it. 3-point win over A&M, where they scored 100 points. 4-point win over Auburn. They scored 96 points. A big win over Mississippi last night, 93-74. They scored 93 points. This team puts up points. As a matter of fact, their only loss recently is to Florida, and Florida right now is playing like absolute gangbusters. I don't know what the final was last night, but at one point they were up about 8 on Georgia, and then I flipped back over and they were up about 28 on Georgia.
They ended up winning by 20.
They're playing Florida
86-66.
Florida is lights out right now.
Yeah,
that was a rough watch.
Not many people are going to be able to hang in there with Florida, it seems like, this year. But you run into, once again, you have a LeBaron Philon, one of legitimately the best players in the SEC, helping run the point there for Alabama. And again, they play fast, which has been a problem for South Carolina. They've got good bigs. Like, it's just everything about this matchup leans advantage Alabama.
803-404-6100, how you can weigh in. We'll talk some Coastal Carolina sports. Coastal Carolina Athletic Director Chance Miller joins us next. You're listening to the Halftime Show. It is 2:17 on a Thursday, getting you ready for a big weekend where we do have some basketball, but we've got the Daytona 500 taking place. The AT&T Pebble Beach tournament is underway out there. I've been kind of keeping an eye on that on my computer, but maybe most importantly for a lot of you, we have got a great weekend of college baseball. It's officially here, and right now joining us not only to talk about that, but some big picture sports in general, Coastal Carolina Athletic Director, the one and only Chance Miller. Mr. Miller, good to have you this afternoon. Hope you are sufficiently prepared for Valentine's Day on Saturday with the significant other.
Hey, thanks for having me on. And no, not even close to prepared for Valentine's Day. Thanks for reminding me of that. I'll have to go get something on the way home.
We appreciate the honesty.
She's been with me for years. She knows. She's been disappointed before.
There. Set the standard low. I like it. More good dating advice here on the halftime show. Set the standard low to begin with, and then you can never trick or fail anybody. I like that. So let's talk about it. Now, not to put Coastal down, but I think it's very clear the pride of your athletic department is the baseball program. They've won a national championship. Last year, they played for a national championship. You can't say anything about it, but if not for a rogue, awful umpire, we might be talking about a second national championship for Coach Schnall and his team. I know that this weekend is an exciting time for you and the program to get baseball going again down there in Teal Nation.
We're really excited about tomorrow. We get to bring a lot of the former guys from last year's magical run back. We're going to do a ceremony before the game to be able to give them their conference and super regional championship rings with that runner-up finish. So we're going to have them in all weekend and be able to kick off against a good Fairfield team that we played in a regional here last year that returned a lot of people. And but we've got a talented group of guys. I mean, we've got Cameron Fluke back, just top pitcher in the country that'll be our Friday night starter. We've got some really talented guys behind him and in the bullpen, and have most of our lineup back. I think 8 or 9 guys that are back that played significant minutes or significant innings last year, and starting out the 6th team in the country. So a lot of pressure, but they've not shied away from it.
Over the course of this offseason, what have been the positive returns you've seen from your Coastal Carolina program playing for the national championship a year ago, and what does that mean for not only this season but this program going forward?
Oh, it's been huge, not only for the athletics department and the baseball program, but the university as a whole. I mean, we did a study through Meltwater, which is a company we use to kind of look at earned media dollars. And for that baseball run, it was about $575 million in earned media value. And you look at the application click rate on our website, it skyrocketed during that run, not only from Omaha, but when we were in the super regionals as well and sweeping Auburn. So applications go up, the attention to the university goes up, and then we've seen it from just season tickets. We tripled our season ticket sales number coming into this year. Our revenue for baseball is up. We added 3 new premium areas in the offseason, sold all of those out, and just a lot of excitement around the program, around our coaching staff, and around these athletes.
In the offseason, or not long after your great run, you personally had to fend off Tennessee for Coach Schnall, and you were able to retain him. You, again, he's an incredible coach. He's been around the program. He's familiar with everything. What did that mean, and what did it say about Coastal Carolina's dedication that you get a program like Tennessee that comes after your head coach and he elects to stay home and continue what he's building?
Yeah, Coach Schnall bleeds Teal. He loves this place. He is this baseball program, and what a wonderful coach to work with. I mean, he does everything we ask of him, even off the field. He helps me fundraise, goes to events. He and his team and the athletes come to every one of our other sports to be able to support them. And when he got to the national championship game, I knew people were going to come after him. And, I really appreciate our new president, President Weinbrake, and the board of trustees really gave me the support to be able to give him a new contract, to be able to help his assistants as well, increase our salary pool for the assistants and great coaches like Coach Schilling, Coach Williams, and others, and Coach Ox. And we invested into the program, and we invested into providing full scholarships across the board for our entire roster, much like, what other Power 4 schools are doing. And we've raised a lot of money for revenue share. And I think with all of that, he was looking at his team coming back this year and thought, actually, he told me, I think I can win with this team better than I can others. And that's why I want to stay. He wants to win a national championship here. And that was an exciting call that Saturday morning when he called me. I was a little nervous when I picked up the phone. I didn't know if he was going or staying, but when he told me he was staying, got really excited about the prospects of being back in Omaha this year.
We've had some fun with some of his media availabilities and things he says into a microphone. Is he that intense all the time away from the mic as well?
He is. He's an intense guy. He wants to win. He's a perfectionist. I like that. I enjoy going over there and meeting with him and talking with him. We share a similar vision of where we think not only this program but this athletic department and university can get to. And that's always nice when you have like-minded individuals that share that vision and want to get there.
He is Chance Miller joining us here for a few more minutes this afternoon. I know he's got a busy day. Let's transition to football, and something I want to ask you that we're watching here in Columbia, and you might even have a little knowledge just from your time up on this. We're seeing the cancellation of these big football series between like South Carolina and North Carolina State, South Carolina and Miami. You guys, I think, tell me, I don't know if you can speak to it, if it benefited y'all this year or not. You will open, Coach Beard will open up at West Virginia, who was supposed to play Alabama, and that game got canceled. Bama picked up East Carolina. Are you getting more phone calls now from Power 4 teams that are interested in scheduling series against Coastal Carolina? Or how is that working for you when you're hearing and seeing these bigger Power 4 games that were supposed to take place being canceled?
We're really not. I think with the SEC going into an additional conference game, I don't disagree with what South Carolina's doing. I mean, I help schedule a lot of those games that are being canceled, but I would probably cancel them too. You're playing an additional conference game and then have that rivalry game against Clemson. That really, is a tough schedule. So going out of conference and trying to schedule another P4 game is hard, but we're not seeing that here. I think we got lucky. We jumped on that West Virginia game early. We knew that game was getting ready to get canceled, so got ahead of it. But I think we're all trying to figure out what scheduling is going to look like moving forward. I mean, we're talking at the Sun Belt level of, do we add an additional conference game as well? Does that help us or hurt us when we get to the college football playoff selection if you're the conference champion? Do you need to play another American school? Like we're playing East Carolina for the next couple of years. And I think us and East Carolina are both looking at it going, okay, does that help us or hurt us moving forward? So I think everybody's just trying to figure it out. As a fan of college football, I hate it because you want to see those games. You want to see those good out-of-conference, matchups and regional matchups. And I think what we're doing right now in college athletics and college football in general is not good for the game long-term.
We enjoyed having Coach Beard on a couple weeks ago to talk about taking over there as the head coach at Coastal. How do you set expectations for a guy like him coming into his first year at your school?
Well, I can tell you we put a lot of resources behind him going into this year. If you look at our roster and how we reset it, I think you can tell that we poured resources into it. We've got 2 tackles that are 6'7", 6'8". We took the number 1 junior college quarterback in the country, who it was down to us, Virginia, and Kentucky, and we were able to get him. So we've got some resources behind him. So I'm not shying away from it. Neither is Coach Beard. I told him, JMU made the playoff last year. There's no reason why we can't do the same thing, why we cannot win the Sun Belt and can compete at a high level and sneak in there. And, the 6-6, 7-5, that's not a successful season in my eyes. So I think we've got to have double-digit wins or we're going to have to go back to the drawing board and look at how we build this thing moving forward.
High expectations is the way you got to have it. I want your opinion when you see a school like North Dakota State right here at this time now trying to get the jump into FBS. Obviously, how competitive they've been in the FCS. I know you weren't there when Coastal made the move, but they've made it very successfully. Y'all have had plenty of success. How do you see that at your, maybe not necessarily North Dakota State, but you see schools that want to make that move at this time and period trying to make that move?
Yeah, I mean that's a hard jump, right? I've heard the stories here when we made the jump from FCS to FBS, and you've got to have the right foundation and the right support behind it. But it's going to take time to build that, and some people a little more successful. They have a long history up there of winning, but there's going to be a different level of competition that they're going against. But I know they have great support up there, great foundation, and great donor base. So they should come in and compete right away, but I don't think the years of dominating and going undefeated every single year and being in the national championship game, that's not going to happen. It's going to be a little bit harder. I know that's for us. It's been a lot of trying to build that base, that support, and those resources behind it to be able to compete at a national level.
All right, before we let you out here, we got about a minute. Free concessions at baseball, how about that? Do we have that on there? Because I got to be hot dogs at football games are nice. Hot dogs are supposed to go with baseball games.
So no free concessions at baseball this year, but we are going to do a lot of dollar dog nights on the midweek games, especially for that Clemson and Wake Forest games coming up.
Well, I talked to Mike last night. I'm going to try and make it down for several games. I apologize to you. I apologize to Mike. I really should have been down there on Saturday. I know y'all had a phenomenal game against UMass. I think it was a double overtime game. Frank Martin was down there.
We had a triple overtime game-winning 3. Yeah.
Yeah. Phenomenal game, and hate that I did get down there for that. So a lot of good things cooking down there. Justin Gray is a phenomenal coach. You got a great one there in him as well. I've got to know him in our AAU days and when he was coaching. So you got a lot going for you, and we look forward to staying in touch with you and catching up here in the near future.
Well, guys, I appreciate you having me on. Hope you're doing well, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Sounds good, buddy. Definitely will do it, man. Good talking to you. Chance Miller, athletic director at Coastal Carolina. We'll come back. We'll get back into some South Carolina baseball. You're listening to The Halftime Show. Thank you again to Chance Miller for joining us there. Tyler, we got off air, and you looked at me, and you were like, whoa. Chance ain't playing around with some football expectations. I mean, look, you got to grow that program down there. I'm all in. I'm going to go to a couple Coastal baseball games here in the coming weeks and check that out. And I look forward to being down there and being a part of it. And he has high expectations for that program. And you've got a baseball program, folks, that's the best program in the state. There's no question about that. And look, they're going to play in the Sun Belt. They're going to be kind of like the Gonzaga of basketball, if you will. They've got a big non-conference schedule lined up. They're going to play Texas. They're going to play Mississippi. They got North Carolina State on there. They've got some big games. He mentioned Clemson and Wake Forest. And I say all that, Tyler, because, that program is going to be expected to be right there competing in the College World Series, and he wants his other programs to be in the same spot.
Yeah, again, you look at what Tim Beck had done in his couple seasons. They were just getting into bowl games. So they were around 500, a little better than that. But, again, they decided to make the move. They said that's not good enough. Wanted to be better than that. And, again, you saw a team within your own conference be able to get to the college football playoff. So there's no reason why Coastal Carolina doesn't look at themselves and say, hey, we should be that kind of team. Who's going to be able to get us to that level? They look at Ryan Beard and what he did at Missouri State with their transition from FCS to FBS, getting them to a bowl game this past year, saying, hey, this is a guy that we believe is going to be able to do that for us. And, yeah, he's setting that bar really high. You're not going to get a chance to just twiddle your thumbs for a couple years trying to figure it out. You better come in and make an impact right away.
So we'll continue to always talk with him. Look forward to it. Coastal Carolina basketball, by the way, if you didn't see that game last Saturday.
Game was phenomenal.
It was 94-91. Look, I like Frank.
How many buzzer beaters were there?
I think it was 3, if I'm right.
Yeah. I think.
2 and then
2 or 3.
Two to get regulation and double. I think I can't remember if the second one happened in regulation. The first one happened in regulation. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. And then one happened, I think, in the second overtime. No. Yeah, the second overtime, and then the third happened to win the game.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I think the third, it may not have been a buzzer beater, but I think it went in with like 0.9 seconds left, so it was close to it.
Yeah. I believe it's it was fun. I'll say that it was really good. And a local boy, by the way, Josh Beadle is the one that's leading the way down there, 16.5 points for Justin Gray's team. Josh spent 2 seasons at Clemson, playing in about 65 games up there his freshman and sophomore year before transferring to BC for Earl Grant and coming back home. And he's been very good down there, averaging 16.5 points. So anyway, point being is that fun talking to Chance. Also, interesting to hear him talk about the scheduling, because I'm wondering as we move forward if you have more and more, of Coastal, because they're not a team that's an easy W, but right now they're not good enough where also you're like, oh, we can't schedule them in football.
Yeah, and like you said, they kind of benefited from the Alabama cancellation with West Virginia. Were able to pick up that game. And look, they got BYU coming up in a couple years, but not a whole lot of things in between in terms of scheduling, power for opponents. And look, everybody's got to go out there and satisfy, those requirements of playing at least one Power 4 team with every league, with the exception of the Big Ten. So those opportunities are there. Again, we kind of condition ourselves to think these things have to be scheduled way ahead of time, but maybe as we get into learning how this is going to work with the new age of college football, with every league being at 9 games and all that kind of stuff, we'll see if Coastal can get any more traction with some of these bigger teams, because again, that does allow them a payday, as they got coming to Carolina a year ago, which benefits them in a lot of ways and will obviously be good for them if they can continue to play these type of games. 803-404-6100, how you can weigh in if you want to do so. Yesterday, we ran the poll question of what is fair expectations for the South Carolina baseball team, Tyler, and you didn't really get a chance to talk much about this, I guess. Fair is the key word here in how we're going to view this baseball team starting tomorrow. I've said that fair, the word fair, to me is getting to the NCAA tournament. Do that. Look, I'm not, and once you get there, then we'll figure everything out from there. Sure.
Maybe you win and you get a super regional. Maybe something else happens. But get there, that's fair. Anything less than that, we got to have a serious discussion about this baseball team. I said it yesterday. The shenanigans have got to stop. South Carolina is one of the preeminent baseball programs in the country. They're in a lull. They're down right now. There's a lot of teams that are great in their sports that are down. Syracuse traditionally is very good in basketball, and right now they're talking about firing Adrian Autry. We see what Florida State is right now in football.
Right.
There's a lot of programs that are down. South Carolina is a perennial powerhouse in baseball that is down. And with that being said, it's time to get it fixed. But that doesn't mean it's going to be fixed in 1 year. My fair expectation, let's get to the postseason and let's get this thing at least back on track doing that.
Yeah, and I think the fact that we're having this kind of conversation speaks volumes to, unfortunately, how far you've fallen, because you're right, and I heard you guys talking about it yesterday, that, for you go back 10, 15 years, and the expectation was, hey, you're hosting a regional, you're playing in super regionals, and, nobody makes Omaha every single year. That's a lofty expectation, but you're at least in the mix more often than not to be one of those Final Eight teams playing for a national championship. You obviously haven't come anywhere close, and again, we've reiterated this point a lot. The Kingston era wasn't awful. Right. It just wasn't at the level of what South Carolina expects. And when you fire him and hire a guy like Coach Maneri, it's because you're bringing him in to say, hey, we're good. We need to be great again. Can you take us back to that level? And I'm sure even Maneri was shocked at how bad last season was, to the point where we're now having to have the conversation of like, hey, can you at least make it into the field of 64, even if you're the dead last seed and they send you out to the Corvallis Regional or whatever it may be, just get in the field and we'll take that as a step forward. Because you're right, if you don't, and even if you do win a few more conference games and say, or I don't know, 9-21 in conference play, we're going to say that's not good enough, and then we're going to start questioning whether there needs to be a year 3 of Maneri or not.
No, you're 100% right on that. And again, kind of to your point, just get in the field, and then I hate to say it like this, but it's kind of the way I look at it. Let's baby step this bad boy back to being competitive, all right? And no, is that the way it should be? Not at all. It sucks. I'm not thrilled that we're having to do that. But, yes, that's kind of where we're at. Let's baby step this bad boy back to being a national contender, because they're not. They're not relevant right now. They're not a preeminent team. You're not even relevant really in the SEC. And that is stuff like that has to change.
Well, we went over the schedule the other day, and for years and years and years, when people saw the interlocking SC on their schedule or saw they had to go to Founders Park, they were afraid. Like, oh, man, you got to deal with South Carolina. You got to deal with Ray Tanner. You got to deal with this. You got to deal with that. Now it's like, oh, okay, whatever. Yeah, we'll take care of them. And Carolina's the one saying, oh, man, Texas, oh, man, LSU, Mississippi State. Like, you're afraid of the teams coming in or going on the road to, because they're the ones that are in a better position than you right now.
Well, I think what stinks the most, and I don't even look at it that way, the way you just described it about teams not being fearful of South Carolina. The excitement for this season would have been through the roof because of how great. I mean, truthfully, this is a great baseball schedule. When you're good, when you're great, this is a phenomenal baseball schedule. You're like, man, every weekend it's jammed. I can't wait. Like, sweetie, I don't know what we're going to do with the next weekend. We got a chance for vacation because South Carolina baseball has got great games every weekend.
You're planning your spring around like, hey, I can't do that. The Texas series is that weekend. Or, man, they're going to play Mississippi State. It's going to be a huge matchup. We're like, now you're like, by the time we get there, they may not be competitive anymore.
Well, I think you're just like, man, look at the gauntlet. And so instead of being like, this is great, this is going to be a blast, you're looking at it like, look at the gauntlet we got to go through.
Yep.
How are we going to navigate this? So it becomes, and I asked Trey Dyson this yesterday, and this stinks. How do we win 13 conference games? Because 13 and 17 probably does get you into the, provided you don't have any of those weird midweek mishaps. 13 and 17 probably gets you into the NCAA tournament. That's good, but you're also like, 13 wins for us?
You've got 6 games currently in the SEC against teams that aren't ranked in the top 25. So let's say, because asking for a sweep of anybody is obviously a challenge, but let's say you manage to win 5 out of those 6 games between Alabama and Missouri. All right, can you manage to win 8 games out of the remaining? Can you manage to win a third of the games against the teams in the top 25 in the preseason? That's kind of what you're looking at here. Best case scenario.
Well, you better be able to. It's pretty simple. You better be able to. As Tom, you got a national championship coach. You got one of the most experienced teams in the country. I know there's been some injuries, but as John Whittle said, you prepare for these kind of things. We'll learn more tomorrow. We'll come back, and we will wrap everything up. You're listening to Tyler Head, Bill Gunner, and Cale Wilson.
Yeah, that's right. You got it right.
I knew I got the Cale. The Cale's I got that down.
You're going to be trying to get this right for a while, aren't you?
I got it. I'm going to give you a name tag. It's the halftime. It's the halftime show. Wrapping it up. It'll be the last day for me. I'll be back Tuesday. We are all off Monday. Actually, the majority of us are off tomorrow, too. We're going to make Tyler work again.
I'm getting pizza, so I'm not going to complain.
Can't complain with that. No, you can't. Reminder, come out to Village Idiot tomorrow between 9 and 12:40 to join us for the pregame show, essentially. But getting you ready for South Carolina baseball tomorrow should be a lot of fun. Weather's going to be decent. Then some bad rain coming in Saturday night and Sunday. So come on out and join us for that. And then on Tuesday, we'll get back into the baseball season and what exactly everything kind of looked like from the weekend, and over-scrutinize probably, Tyler, what we saw, I would guess.
Well, we're in the reactionary business.
Very true.
And we can only react to what we've seen so far. And, again, we've spent a lot of this offseason when we've talked about baseball saying, well, we think, but we don't really know because there's so many new faces and so much that is going to be learned over the course of this entire year. So, yes, if South Carolina goes out there and, run rules Northern Kentucky in all 3 games and all 3 starting pitchers throw complete games, like, man, this team is back. We're on the path to Omaha for a national championship. If they end up dropping 2 out of 3 games, like, oof, we're in trouble. Now, again, that's not an indication of how the season's going to go, but that's just how you react to things.
Also this weekend, again, South Carolina basketball at Alabama, 8:30 on Saturday night. And, look, if you win, if you go down there and you pull a massive upset, that's great. I don't know what it does other than probably angers you that they found a way to beat Alabama on the road.
Yeah.
And they've lost some other games. If you get blown out, you got to follow it up by going to Florida on Tuesday. And like I said, Florida again is on an absolute tear right now. Not only are they winning, they're destroying teams as well.
You can make a case that they might be the best team in the country right now. Now, I know they're not ranked there or anything like that, but you can make a strong case that they are playing like the best team in the country right now.
Listen, last night they absolutely stuck it to Georgia, and Georgia's playing fairly well. But the Gators right now, you kind of go back and you go, man, Florida hammered us a couple weeks ago. They're doing it to everybody right now. 9-2 in conference. Their last loss came to Auburn back on January 24th. And since then, they've had what is this? I got to do math real quick. The 37-point victory, is that right? No, 47-point victory over South Carolina, a 23-point victory over Alabama. You've got a 19-point victory over Texas A&M, and last night, 20-point victory over Georgia. So, again, they're not just winning. They're destroying teams, and you got to get them next week. And they actually have a great game Saturday afternoon on ABC against Kentucky.
Yeah, it's one of those things that if Florida was able to close out the regular season not losing another game, you wouldn't be surprised about. Again, you actually have 2 more games against Kentucky and another game against Arkansas as far as ranked opponents go to close out the regular season. But, yeah, they're going to be the team to beat once you get into the SEC tournament. And obviously we'll see where they shake out as far as bracketology goes for the NCAAs. But they look like a team very well equipped to make another deep run in the tournament this year.
And I say all that because if South Carolina were to go 0-2 and they're sitting at 2-11 and 11-15, again, that conversation about, all right, what's happening with this basketball team, it grows louder. I mean, I don't know if there's going to be a difference in apathy, and I hate to say it this way, but I'm going to use the word excitement for a coaching change. Can you have both at the same time?
In terms of or
excitement of wanting a coaching change.
Well, in terms of saying they wouldn't be excited no matter who the change is that what you mean by that? Like, even if there was a change, people still wouldn't be excited about it? Is that what you mean?
I think anytime, well, it's like with anything new.
Yeah.
It's like with anything new, we get excited, right?
Oh, of course.
Like pretty much anything. And so you open up the door, to something new. Yeah. People are going to be excited.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you mean by that. Yeah, it's that hope springs eternal when you kind of turn the page onto something new. So, yeah, I get what you mean by that. But, again, we don't know for sure if moves are going to be made or not. May depend on how you kind of close out the regular season. But, yeah, I think that would be something that would elicit the most excitement going into next season. Again, is that going to happen or not? I don't know, but that kind of seems to be where the fan base is at right now.
803-404-6100 again is how you can weigh in. Jay and Terry set to join you next. So there's a little basketball talk and the Daytona 500 this weekend. Now, you have taken Cody Ware.
I've taken Cody Ware, dead last in points last year.
Okay.
Here's my strategy. Daytona 500 is a melee of a race. You can be the worst driver in the world. If you survive the carnage, you can finish in the top 10, which Cody Ware's done that before. I didn't want to use a high-caliber pick on a race that's kind of a crapshoot. It's going to be kind of my strategy for drafting races. So I'm getting Cody Ware out of the way. I still have my full disposal for the rest of the season. So for you, like if Kyle Busch crashes out, Doug pick Kyle Busch, you pick Ricky Stenhouse. If he crashes out this weekend, and he's a good super speedway racer, you can't use him for the rest of the year.
I gotta see my strategy on this. There are drivers that I know. There's probably about 10 to 12 that I know.
Yes, and this is going to force you to learn more about the field, which is part of the reason why I did this.
And so what I was going to say is those are the people that I would kind of use in my rotation. There's probably about 6, but there's a couple more. But there's a good rotation that I would have been on. With this, like Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is not in that rotation, and yet he's won one of these, so I don't know where I would use him down the line, but I got to use him somewhere.
Yeah.
So the fact that he won, what did we say, 2 or 3 years ago?
It was 2023. It was 3 years ago.
2023, so yeah.
But all of his wins have been on super speedway, so it's a good pick. It's just like if he can survive to the end, he'll be in the mix.
Yeah, and then we'll go from there. So we've got our checkered flag challenge, our checkered flag survivor challenge that is taking place, and we'll go through that. We'll get that segment up with Doug Turnbull coming up here in just a little while, and a lot of fun things from there. So 803-404-6100. Text always in says, take Michael McDowell. He stinks. He'll be good at Daytona. You won't have to worry about wasting anybody else. We've already done our picks.
Well, he won the Daytona 500 in 2021, so that's a good pick as well.
He says he's good at Daytona, but he thinks
we're all going to have to pick him at some point this year. He's also a good road course racer, so consider that.
Also, I'm going to have to read our sheet closer to make sure I remember who we picked each and every week. All right. You have a good rest of the week.
You too.
Good luck here. Anything, Kale? Excellent work. Good luck on all your weekend plans and everything.
Thank you. Thank you.
I hope it goes well, Kale.
We are pulling for you. Y'all have a great Thursday afternoon. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing. That's right, Mid-State Roofing, protecting my roof, your roof, the state's roof, everybody's roof. Did you know they roofed the world? I'm not joking about that. They actually, remember the old Planet Hollywood down in Myrtle Beach? They actually did the roofing on that. So they technically have roofed the world. That's how great they are. And with 30 years of experience, let them show you. Give them a phone call today, 803-356-1919. That's right, 803-356-1919. At Mid-State Roofing, they're there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, ready to help you with a maintenance contract. Whether it's a high-rise or a hospital, manufacturing or industrial, Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that, again, keep that operation of yours dry and running long into the future. 803-356-1919. Give them a phone call today and tell them Bill Gunner sent you.